record it on the bottom one as well, just on the off chance that the internet runs out.
Okay.
If it does, then we've literally got something that we can put out later.
Yeah. And it goes out live as well.
It goes out on Facebook and Twitter.
I was uptown yesterday with the...
Well, welcome to the Reposs Isthmian show, and we're here, of course, for the next 2 hours. And of course, tonight's a very special night for me and Keith. Of course, it's show 200, and all we can really say to everybody is a massive thank you for your support through the 5 years, and of course, also as well, you know, when I started it back, as I said on social media today, I wasn't expecting in 2013 to be sitting here in 2018, still doing the show and getting more viewers every week, which is a big buzz for me, I must admit, to carry on doing the show. Tonight we bring back some new faces, old faces as well to the show. So, of course, we'll introduce everybody, but of course, as normal, to my left, but to your right, probably on social media, of course, he's the legend, as I said on Facebook earlier on, Mr. Keith McMahon.
I don't think some people on Saturday would have called me that day. Yeah, evening. Nice to be here on your 200 show. Still waiting to be paid for the 199.
And of course, to his left, of course, another living legend, of course, as well, Mr. Craig Edwards. Welcome, Craig.
Thank you very much, boys.
And of course, gentleman to my right, probably to your left, but whichever way round it is. And we've been trying to get this gentleman on the show for a long time. He's the living legend of the non-league show, Mr. Dave Anderson. So
Evening. He's living a long way from here, let me tell you. I noticed as well, he said some old faces and some new faces, no young faces, was it? You know, but it's a pleasure.
Young faces driving around the M25
yes.
at a minute.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Gary Alexander will be joining us shortly once he finds his way around the M25.
I think we've got a text in the message in week to get in.
Yeah.
Sorry, any Ashford fans watching.
Also joining us as well tonight, about 7:10, of course, he's another old face to the show that always used to come on the show in the early days, in the first 2 or 3 series of the show. Of course, he's Nick Bowler from BBC Norfolk. He'll come on and have a chat with us as well at about 7:10.
Will his translator be coming with him?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Okay.
And then, of course, about 8:00, one of my old show hosts, of course, before Keith, in Carl Bates, who also works for the BBC as well. He's going to be joining us at around about 8:00 tonight. But, of course, if you've got anything you want to talk to us about, then why not get in touch with us on 07912 435 005, and we'll have a chat with everybody that is around the table tonight. But we'll quickly run into some of these results like we normally do before we get hold of young Mr. Nick Bowler, and we'll have a look.
So someone's already sent us a message, and what you were saying to us earlier, Craig, about obviously being sent off. Mark Coleman's put, Craig is a legend and the only manager I've seen be sent off twice in the same match. Do you remember that?
Was that for Chelmsford? Or have I put another one?
Yeah. And he just said before we went on air, I was spoken to on Saturday for the first time in 10 years. And
First time I don't know, I didn't get sent off. He said he's going to report me, so whether he will or not, I don't know.
Depends who he reports you to.
Yeah.
twice in one game, though. That's I ain't done that.
Elaborate, yeah. Mark, tell us which game it was, mate.
Well, let's quickly go through these Bostic Prem games then. AFC Hornchurch 2, Kingstonian 2.
That's a good point for Hornchurch.
Yeah, I thought so.
A bit, obviously, Kingstonian now they're flying.
Do you remember that?
And Closey from Concord, I think, was probably the best right back in the league. So.
You said no Civic. No Civic.
No
I
Civic.
think he's got that. That might say no Civic.
No Civic.
Oh, pass.
Right. So he says, there you go.
Well, that was when I was with at Southend. Civic, is that a Civic?
Yeah.
He's going to be a Civic.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah. Civic College. I don't remember that, or sixth form college. When we had type at Southend, and we was training at Civic College. He's going to have to remind me about that because I don't remember that at all.
It'll be 3 times then.
Yeah. Listen, Your Honour.
Well, we've actually got somebody on there, the ex-Arsenal ladies manager, Pedro, he's watching, from I'm assuming from Spain, so welcome, Pedro, from that. But going through the others, Bishop Stortford 1, Lewis 2, so the juggernaut sort of run sort of comes to a halt.
We say that, but Lewis was on second, Dave. You know, they're doing a great job over there, you know, from coming up from last year. But as you said, big crowd, they get good gates, and you know, Bishop Stortford was always, you fancy them being at home, and obviously doing so well there as well with Jamie over there. But great result.
He said it was West Suffolk College versus Seavic Craig, was sent off and got told to go to the change rooms and wouldn't go. 2003.
Absolutely refute it.
Bognor Regis Town 3, Carshalton 2.
Always difficult going down to Bognor, isn't it? I suppose the weather, if the wind was anything like it was up at our way.
Well, it's just one. I was thinking about like going back to my days, and anywhere on the coast was always a good atmosphere. But Bognor, with Jack, we're chucking legends about here. He absolutely is one. Funny enough, with my own club in the Vase, we came across. Do you remember the lad Michael Birmingham played at Bognor? He was like, and he's now managing, and they played exactly the same way as Jack's side did, you know. But Lewis is an one you'd always look forward to because there's always a few there, wasn't there? You know.
I remember with Jack, one of the first times I went, because I thought he was just a lovely old boy.
Yeah.
And this is when I was at Ford United. We played Bognor at home, and we was 2-0 up at half time. We've gone in the dressing rooms, and I'm literally, I could not do a team talk at all because Jack, I've never heard anyone in my whole life go as mad as he did. As mad as he did in that half-time team talk. Yeah. And I just couldn't get a word in. It was just, and it was a surprise to me. And in the end, I just said to the boys, they're going to give it a go.
Yeah, you don't get to see. I mean, the best one I had.
I've never seen Jack like that.
No, and listen, he's passionate about his game, but the best one we were doing, I think it was when we were on BBC London, and I don't know where Keith was there or not, but we were talking about they changed the rule from taping your rings up, where you had to take them off. So, and Jack was on the line, and we just brought him into the conversation. I said, "It's ridiculous. What happens if you can't get it off? You know, we can't play. You're gonna, you know." And he says, "Listen, Dave, I've been in football management a long time." He says, "Saturday nights when the lads are having a players' night out," he said, "the fall off." Allegedly, I would follow that, you know, but he it's top drawer. But
well, he's a weird one because someone's just taken that in. But Carshalton played twice at the weekend, according to the non-league player, and they lost both times by the same score. But it was Burgess Hill.
I was looking at that today as well, and I actually sat there and thought, what a great result for Burgess. The crowd was 300. Was it 300 or something? It was a decent crowd as well. They needed the points, but. Even still, I prefer that score.
Well, let's give Nick a shout and see where we can get hold of Nick, and then we'll come back to the rest of them in a minute. Hello, Nick.
You've got to answer first, though.
Yeah, it's not actually answering.
Might have got the old hand of this after 200 shows.
You think so? You think you'd want to answer the phone, wouldn't you? But there we go. We still don't answer the phone. But anyway, hopefully you'll give us a call in a minute. He'll return the call in a few minutes' time. But we'll see what he does. If he doesn't, he doesn't. So we'll just carry on for the time being. Corinthian Casuals 1, Potters Bar Town 2.
Bit surprised by that, I was.
Yeah. But again, it's just decent away win, isn't it? For they needed the points. I think they picked up well there.
Enfield Town 4, Harlow Town 1. Billy Bricknell playing for two teams according to Football Web Page on the same day and scored twice for Enfield Town.
Well, he must have left at half time because he got his second, what is it, the 40th, no, 55th. He must come off and then flew over to Billericay and played for them as well. So, no, he's trying to get match fit really quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Harlow are in trouble, mate, aren't they?
They are.
Still.
Yeah. 3-4-2.
They seem to have that little bit of a pick-up, didn't they? They're not out of it if you look at they're in touching distance, but going to Enfield was always going to be this. They're decent there, aren't they? What was it, 3.5 over there?
But I suppose a good thing talking about Football Web Page is they finally put the the arrow back on their fixtures. I don't know if anybody's noticed that, so we can actually find them now.
Can find them, yeah, scroll down.
That's all good fun. Leatherhead 0, Brighton Sea Region 1, Billy Hunt getting the goal there.
Good result. Don't like Harringay, mate. Don't like Harringay.
No, we'll come back to Harringay in a minute.
Well, let's go, because to be fair,
Harringay Borough 1, Folkestone Victor 0, 261, and got their main man back as well.
Yeah, no, he's gone back from St Albans, and I see a tweet today saying that, I don't know if people were saying it was of an attitude, and he's saying it wasn't, which is fair play to him. I don't think you need to come out on social media and say, put your own point across, but, it's great for them. It gives them that extra push now.
That's a great sign of running. We always think it's the best time to strengthen is when you go well.
Yeah. And the publicity in that through the Wimbledon game, that sometimes you can crash after that, but they haven't. They've sort of rode on it a little bit more, and spend the money wisely.
Really weird. I don't know what's going on there. But let's go to this one then. Margate 2, Wingate and Finchley 2.
It's a good result for Wingate, because again, they've pulled themselves sort of into the bottom few, and Margate just seem to can't get a massive run together yet. They just seem to be up and down up there, but I think Wingate will be over the moon.
Never easy. Again, coastal town, never easy when you go to the coast. No matter where they are, what they're doing is, I always find them. You never walk away with an easy 3 points, especially at Margate as well.
Mersham 1, Whitehawk 0, 112.
Whitehawk struggling big time. The only again we say about Mersham, how good they are on their day. They've got such pace and power. It's just surprising they maybe only scored one and not conceded. They're a little similar to us at the moment, apart from they're better than us. And then the big one at the bottom, of course, Tonbridge Angels 1, Worthing 2, and Tonbridge were 1 up at the time. Yeah, and I don't know if you see, we were talking about official with Gunnar again, and Stephen Kim's tweeting about their goal being offside and not, and I think interfering, and we had something very similar. And I said with referees telling they've all got different opinions of the law by the sounds of things, and it'd be nice if someone sent them a memo together and they knew what it was, but it showed it as well, so they were maybe a little bit harsh there for them, but he took it. But Worthing are a very, very good side, Dave, we've said that. I don't know if you've seen them at all. Yeah, they are, we've had them there along the way up, and good luck to them. They seem to have things properly in place, but Tommy's got a good side as well. I think they'll be there and thereabouts. Nothing that's going to hurt much.
Let's see if we can get hold of Nick again. He sent me another number. Let's see if we can get him on this one. Hello, Nick.
Hello.
How are we, sir?
I'm all right, thank you very much. I thought you'd forgotten about old Norfolk.
No. Yeah, I was only up there a few months ago, mate. I must admit. But talk to us. Yourself. With BBC Norfolk, everything going okay up there for yourself?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, I think the line's very sketchy, so you'll have to maybe repeat a question or two. But can't really hear you very well at the moment. But I'm good, thank you. Yeah, and not too bad. But apart from the fact that we've only got obviously one team that's flying the flag for us at the moment, Durham, and they're not doing too well either.
So with that though, with Durham, again, last year it seemed to be a bit an up and down. Last season had a really good start to the season. We're up there in the playoffs and pushing for a promotion place for most of the season last year, but then come back this year and really struggling.
Yeah, I think everybody was expecting them to be up there again, and they were as well. And because the signings they made were decent, and it was quite a mouth-watering prospect that they got a guy called Adam Hipperson who was at Norwich United. He joined them. He's a winger, and they've got a guy, Reece Logan, on the other wing, and you would think pronged pace attack, including the likes of Joe Gatting in the middle, then going forward that'll be okay. But unfortunately, Adam Hipson has had a couple of injuries. Reece Logan has been out virtually all season with a bad injury, so they've suffered from that degree. The other thing that they've really had a problem with is defensively, because their Achilles heel has been conceding far too many goals, and that has cost them dear. Not long ago, 2-0 up against Malden, as they were last year in the fixture, and they lost 3-2. And you can't keep doing that. And the other problem they've had, of course, is that the 3 points taken away, which is a real kick in the backside when you're down where you are.
I mean, on a positive note, then, I mean, I've seen like Norwich are not doing too badly, and you know, in the league below, and then of course also you know, Wroxham and Leicester and all these around your area are doing quite well. But I mean, do you see any of the likes of Norwich bouncing back, or Wroxham coming back up next year?
Well, Norwich United have just sacked their two managers. Actually, they're joint managers, and they've been relieved of their duties because they lost 9 league games on the bounce. So something obviously had to change there. I mean, it was such a disappointment with Norwich United at the end of last season. Obviously, when they got relegated, but they won a couple of 3 games, like 6 games away from the end of the season to relieve the pressure. And you think everything's going to be all right. And I think they needed a point from the last 3 games or something like that, and didn't get one. And I remember going to a game about 3 games before the end of the season when they were 1-0 up. Then they conceded late. Then they conceded another one, and you just sensed that the pendulum was swinging away from them. Unfortunately. Yeah.
I mean, last season with Norwich, it was a weird thing because at one stage we were saying in here, "Oh well, Norwich are safe. There's no problems with Norwich. They're going to make. There's not an issue at all." Then all of a sudden it was a case of, oh no! All of a sudden, then Romford came back into it. Then Norwich came into it, and it was backwards and forwards all the time. And it was just a really, really strange state of affairs. It just every time we came to another show, it was, Norwich are up or Norwich are down.
Yeah, well, they should never have gone. When you think of when you looked at the squad that they had available to them, it was quite amazing how they got themselves into that position and then not being able to finish the job off at the end of the season. Coupled with the fact, of course, that Romford went on a blinding run, didn't they? Which was quite incredible. So that put a little bit of extra pressure on them as well, I guess. But Steve Eastaugh, who was the manager then, they did actually get some silverware just after that. They went to Carroll Road and won the Norfolk Senior Cup, so at least they ended the season on a reasonable high. But then Steve Eastaugh, the manager, left. They brought these 2 guys in. Started reasonably well. It was looking quite okay. The football was decent. But they had this horrible run, which obviously the chairman has decided enough's enough. We were expecting today an announcement on who would take over, but that's not yet been released, but I think certainly in the next day or 2 that the successor will be in place. So disappointing for them. Wroxham are in a better position at the moment than Norwich United are. They've got quite some decent young kids. They've got a guy called Adam Drury who was with Norwich City for many years. He's assistant manager actually to a young lad who works with him, coaching at Norwich City's place. So they're okay, but I really don't think they've got enough in them to win the league at all. I think it's going to be like the Stowmarket Histon, somebody like that, really.
Somebody yourself, Darwin, do you see, is it more positive in that sort of Norfolk Suffolk area now? Because I know even the likes of Lowestoft were having a few sort of financial issues, etc., etc. I mean, are you is it a bit more positive now in that area?
Well, as far as Lowestoft is concerned, I think it's more positive in the fact that they've got a couple of guys now in charge who used to play for them. Jamie Godbold, who's a real sort of stalwart, fantastic player in his time. Andy Reynolds, who was a goalkeeper at the same time. Those 2 did have a brief spell at AFC Sudbury, and then they went to Wroxham, actually, funnily enough, but not for many months though, because as soon as the Lowestoft job became available, they jumped at the opportunity. So they've gone down there. They're doing okay, but they've got a very shallow squad, and they've struggled with injuries. The last 2 or 3 years, really. It's not just this one. They've had an amazing number of injuries over the years, but they have picked up a little bit of late. They're not as high as you would, for comfort-wise, as they would like, because they've only won one league game since the end of August. So it's not great, but there are signs there that things are improving. But from a Norfolk point of view, we had 3 teams, didn't we? We had Wroxham, we had Norwich United, we had Durham in the Ryman League as it was then at one particular stage. My worry was that geographically we haven't got enough players of that level to sustain, to keep 3 teams at that level, and unfortunately it's been proven right.
Yeah, they seem to have changed all the leagues to make the travelling possibly up to Norfolk a little bit easier, and everybody disappeared.
Sorry, I didn't catch that one.
I said they changed all the leagues to make it a little bit easier for us down here to get to you, and all of a sudden you all disappeared.
Yeah, the regionalisation has caused a few issues, if you like, around here, and certainly it's been of benefit to Durham without a doubt, and it's given a few more teams a bit closer, but we're just a little bit out on a limb, whatever. I think quite a few teams from out of the area some enjoy coming up. The hospitality is fantastic, but obviously from a journey and a travelling point of view, then I can understand why teams don't particularly relish coming up to Norfolk. But it's it's not our fault. We get put in these leagues, and you think of it the other way. The number of miles that Durham have got to do every other week.
I mean, pretty weird. I mean, do you used to like going up to Deer? I know you had a couple of travels, possibly up to Wroxham.
I went up to Leicester this year, didn't I? I played them in the trophy, so I went up and watched them a couple of times. No, I don't miss the journey. But no, you're right. There's some nice people up. Deer needs to pick some points up. Otherwise, they're going to follow Norwich. I think that we had the manager in beginning of the series, didn't we? And as Nick said, they've got some good players, as in Gatton and things like that. I'm surprised where they are, but I think the success with obviously Lowestoft, Needham, and Leiston all going to play Prem football, because they're all together. The good players are there, so the catchment area for the ones below aren't there, and I think that's why they're finding it tough.
I always found it good. It was good when you got there. It's always a good atmosphere, and that especially Lowestoft. Used to go there, but from my end, it was a slap. If you did Tuesday nights, Craig, like we get back. You get back at like 2 a.m. But listen, that is, as Nick says, they've got to do it every other week. We've got to do it once or twice a year.
Well, funny enough, when we won the league at Billericay, and it was us, Church and Lowestoft, I think finished second, and they were doing really well up to Christmas. But I always feel they find it hard Tuesday nights when the weather kicks in.
Yeah.
And they started getting some dodgy results, and just pulled away. That was very, very hard for them.
Must be hard for a manager
especially funny enough, the games like a White Arrow on a Tuesday night for them.
Yeah, it's a nightmare journey,
I mean, Nick, do you see Durham pulling out of it?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that they will. That they do need, obviously, to get the injured players back in. But when you look at who's available to them when everybody's out, fit and raring to go, then I don't think they have got an issue. It's just that things seem to be going against them at the moment. We talk about the 3 points deducted as well, and that was just after. Really, they had a 3 or 4 game spell when they looked to have started to get on a bit of a run, and then they go and, they concede a late goal, then they go and, I mentioned that game against Malden, 2-0 up and lose 3-2, and they haven't been really thumped in that many games. They've been in most games, but I've mentioned that, defensively, they've looked a bit frail this season. That certainly needs to be something that they sort out, but no, I'm sure that once they get everybody back, hopefully sooner rather than later, then they'll be alright. But as the guys say, you need to start picking points up pretty quickly, because second bottom isn't looking pretty for a team that not that many weeks ago were just outside the playoffs, and at the start of the season fancied to at least be in the playoffs. So you could argue that they are underperforming big time at the moment.
Well, we looked at it, they've come and played Aveley first game of the season, thought it was going to be a tough game, and to be really honest here, I was really disappointed in them. They were, I think on the day it could have been however many Aveley wanted to score on the day. It was a really poor performance by them for sort of first game of the season, but then they went on from there, had a couple of decent results, and then it's sort of gone a bit sort of pear-shaped, as we know, from there on in.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about, the guys alluded to it there about the player pool available even for the Suffolk side is a lot better than it is for the Norfolk teams. And what Durham do and do well is rely on the academy that they've got. And yes, they do bring some decent kids through. But, for example, I went to one game not long ago and you had 3 or 4 16, 17-year-olds in there. Well, that's one thing having a great academy, and that's wonderful for it, but you just feel that they're having to put too many youngsters in at the same time, drip feed them in when you've got some experience around you to let them get a feel of that standard of football. Because, there are some, I wouldn't say physical sides, but there are some strong sides out there that, can quickly, quite easily muscle these youngsters, and that they're learning the hard way, but they're having to do that because of the injuries and the resources available to them. So, they're good, but that's a big step up to ask, a big ask for a 16 or 17-year-old to continually perform at the level required to, for that level of football.
Did you find that difficult trying to get that many youngsters in the team?
Well, yeah, I've got quite a young side, but it's a balance, isn't it? But it just depends on how, if they're good enough, you'll put them in. If they're not good enough, you won't.
I think it's the roller coasters, aren't they? I think continually is the big word in the statement. I think every now and again playing a couple of games is brilliant for their progression, but who is it says you can't win anything with kids? But in all honesty, I think you've two or three, and you've done all right. After that, I think it's the blind leading the blind a little bit at times.
Well, I had a kid he's playing for me at the moment. He's played the last 6 games. He won our Player of the Month on Saturday. 18, fair Saturday. He's had his worst game, but you get that with youngsters. Will you play him again next Saturday? Yeah, you will. You're going to give him another go and you carry on. It's if you don't.
It's when you've got 5 of them.
Well, I have.
Yeah, well, all the best.
but mixed with a couple of others. But you're going to get that. Yeah. You're going to get that. But no, that also you can work with them as well. A lot of them have got no fear day as well.
Yeah. I think at a level as well, like, if they want to go and play higher, they've got to produce every week at that level. At some point, you've got to go and play against men, and you probably ask them kids what they want to be. At that age, they're going to say a footballer. Yeah. So you've got to be able to go and play against men week in, week out to probably a 7 and above. Yeah. If the scouts are going to be coming to watch you.
We've always had always. But do you find the youngsters today have not got the maturity that youngsters had, say, 15, 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago?
I think obviously they're a little maybe a bit better, but I think it's who you've got around, and I'm lucky, and Gary knows we've got obviously someone like Charlie McDonald, Daddy Facini that have been pros.
Yeah, and are good with them.
Really showing them what to do.
They've come through the old system though, haven't they? There's 17-year-olds now have all come through the new system where if you've been inside an academy, you see you don't. Very rarely do you get told the truth. There's got to be a way around it of saying it. They're not used to being told the proper way, and all of a sudden you get to 17, 18, you're in Keith's dressing room, in your dressing room, Craig, and all of a sudden it's not a good performance, and the hairdryer comes out, and can they handle that? They've never seen it before. They've never had the truth, and they can't handle it. Yeah, I agree.
They're easily led as well. A lot of them have got agents and non-league 17, and I've said it here. One of my lads got led away the other week because me wrongly advised. Now he's sat in the bench, ain't playing, and you're like, they seem to trust someone else.
That's fashion these days.
Yeah, it is.
For every kid, it's a fashion.
Yeah. The people that they should be trusting is the managers that gave them the chance in the first place.
But 100%. But you go and watch a game these days, and if there's 150 there, 80 of them in the crowd are agents or trying to be agents or mates of a mate who knows this kid who says I can get you this and get you that, and
it just gets in the way. It gets in the way of. I hate them with passion. I understand that the game now has them.
Yeah, if you're playing, you're playing, aren't you?
Yeah,
Stay
exactly.
playing, and then you won't have to go on trial. You'll get your move straight away if you're doing well enough.
I mean, I think that the whole, if you go back like for 30 years or whatever, however long me and Craig have been at this, if I go back to that period, everything's changed. Huh? But what I mean by that is, if I go back to when we first started, every 25-year-old was on a building site or holding down a job. Some were married, some were at 25. Every 25-year-old now lives at home and goes to college. And I know I'm exaggerating, but that changes character anyway. That sort of, if you're in a man's world during the day, and then you come into semi-pro, and you're used to being, I don't know, it's old school talk I'm talking about, but the whole game's changed like that. I think it's society.
It's not fun. I was talking to two assistants afterwards on Saturday. We was talking about it, and I said that. And one of them, I said something about it, and he's only 19. And then I thought, hang on, I knew that when I was 9 or 10. Those type of things I was talking about. And they mollycoddle too much. 19, I think really, you should have a good understanding of the game. You know, you should know a lot more than what I think they're given credit for. And to use that as an excuse, he's only 19, I think
I use the excuse sometimes to the bit that they're only 19 or whatever if they make mistakes.
Yeah,
because they're going to make mistakes. That's how they're going to learn.
Make a mistake at 30 though, don't you? Like, so even as a young, if you see it today and the kids in the crowd, the kid does a Cruyff and all of a sudden the crowd cheer, and that's the mentality of it. You know, like, that's the mentality. They're like, wow, and you're like, but he's not been in the game. He's done a Cruyff, but he's going to go away thinking he's had a good game and done all right because his mates have all cheered, and you're like, that's all you've done, mate, and you probably didn't need to do it.
It's a bit too much street football.
Yeah, that's it, exactly that. It's a bit of FIFA. They all go back to Pep Guardiola. They all look at Pep Guardiola as if to say, like, football this, football that. They're the hardest working team in the.
Watch them without the ball. Don't worry about them when they've got it. When they ain't got it,
how hard do they work? But this is what maybe they don't see. They see the decent
Nick, is there a team in Norfolk at the moment that you're quite excited about? That you can see a future, big future. Just before you go and leave us, is there a team out there in Norfolk that you feel could be the up and coming side?
I mean, Durham certainly flying the flank on Kings Lynn are obviously the best side, non-league side in Norfolk, but they're in the Southern Premier Central, and Ian Culverhouse has just gone back there as manager, the former Norwich and Tottenham player, so hopefully they'll be knocking on the playoff door at least, but they had a horrible start to the season. They got rid of their manager after just 7 or 8 games. Culverhouse came back and things have started to improve, but below that, I mean, Durham are flying the flag as best as they can at the moment, and with the facilities they've got available, then you can't really see much beyond Durham at the moment or anybody challenging them. Obviously, if they go down, then things might be a little bit more tricky, but they've got the infrastructure there, they've got the academy. Geographically, they're better placed probably than any other side in Norfolk. So, no, I mean, aside from Wroxham, who are blooding some nice youngsters, it's going to take them a couple of 3 years probably. But I wouldn't say I'm excited too much about anybody, in all honesty. I don't think there's anybody there you think, no, they are going to be challengers, like, if you were supporting a Histon or a Stowmarket, where you can see that they've got a pretty big budget available to them and they're attracting the better players, and they're probably going to be one of the teams to be promoted. So, unfortunately not at the moment, but hopefully, in the not too distant future, then we might have 1 or 2 more teams back up at that level. But it's just very difficult. I think the landscape, as far as Norfolk clubs are concerned, it's difficult to sustain football at that level for that many clubs.
Well, Nick, it's been really great talking to you once more, and really thank you for being part of the show that we've done for the last 5 years.
Congratulations on 200.
Thank you very much indeed, and we'll speak to you very soon, sir.
All right, cheers, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
mate.
you.
So, mate, bye-bye. So, are you surprised that some of the Norfolk sides are sort of no longer sort of in and around it? Should we say?
That's like what I said before, Dave. If you look at the 3 or 4 sides that are in the Prem division, that's the reason most probably.
Yeah. I always thought the flip side. You're saying the better side from the compete player-wise, but I thought their catchment area was very, very good.
Yeah.
Like these Norfolk sides, whereas down there you've got so much competition. There's clubs. 6 clubs within no distance, so that makes it tough. Particularly when you've got within division. I mean, you take us, we've got Arlo down the road, Salford, Enfield. So that makes it cool. Decent players.
We've had some sort of messages come in, and we just read these before we go on to the North Division. Mark commented, apparently in the Southern League on the Saturday, a Stourbridge player got 2 yellow cards at least, and still didn't get sent off. Norfolk needs to be forgotten about. Mick Payne has said, Mick Payne, England C, the goalkeeping course as well. It's a brilliant achievement, 200 shows, always there if you need a chat. Say hello to Dave Anderson for me. All the best, Mick Payne, England C coach. Someone's put Kingsley are doing okay. A few others in. Steve says, it's good to see all you lads. Gary had a trim, I see. Gary's walking back over the den to show our strikers where the net is. Also, hope you just going to say thanks for the 200 shows, etc., etc. So we're going to the North Division. Game I was at the weekend. Averley won, Coggleshall Town won, and I suppose the big news out of that was Ollie Merz was a no-show. My daughter was not very pleased, I can tell you, that he returned of that game.
I've been delighted myself.
I'll be honest with you, the game was a weird game. In the first half, Coggleshall probably, in all fairness, could have been 4 or 5-0 up at half time. It was literally all Coggleshall. If they could have finished on the day, they would have been 4 or 5-0 up, and it was, you wouldn't have said it was unfair, at half time. Got to the second half, and it was a bit more of the same in the first 10-15 minutes. Then all of a sudden, Averley got a penalty. Alex O'Coffrey took the penalty, went the opposite way that he normally does. Keeper read it, saved it, went out to the right-hand side of the pitch, and the bloke crossed it back in again. And O'Coffrey was standing there and just headed it straight into the empty net. So got back to 1-1, and then from there on in, Averley could have won the game 4-5-1. It was literally all Averley from there on in. So it was a really weird game between two. You can see the two good sides that are going to be there or thereabouts come the end of the season, and probably be one or two of the 4 or 5 sides that are going to be in that playoffs and automatic promotion places. So it was a good game. It was a good game probably for the neutrals, but it was just literally one of the two sides could have just kept it going for the full game, and probably would have walked away with it quite comfortably. Barking 2, Grays Athletic 1.
Bit of surprise that for me. Obviously, Barking, they're not having the best of seasons, are they, for what they thought? And Grays have started to pick up, and they started to sort of rise up the league, and I thought they might go there and get a result.
Basildon United 1, Morden and Tiptree 2. Of course, Basildon, another one of these sides now with no manager. Yep. It seems to be a silly season for managers at the moment.
Well, it's Christmas, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's loads going around.
Keep your head down.
We've got it off.
Yeah. Okay.
Brentwood Town 1, Bury Town 1.
Funny, Brentwood gets some great results recently.
Yeah.
Here and there, and I'm seeing
up to 11th.
Yeah,
sneaking up there with no one's actually paying much attention.
My old goalkeeper Rob Bubb there, he's a lovely fella, buddy, and it's good to see that.
Dereham Town 1, Bowes and Pixie 3, and Dereham took the lead there. Gatton was back. Yeah,
which isn't exciting.
Yeah.
I'd say that they've conceded over 2 goals a game, and that's what they're struggling. Played 16 and conceded more than that. And they were people thought that they would be around the playoffs this year, didn't they?
And they got the worst defensive record in the north. Yeah. So, Felixstowe Walton 0, Canvey Island 4. Yeah. Another one without a manager as well. Yeah,
there's managers. Most places, Felixstowe can.
I've had enough of that journey.
Great Waker in 1, Mildenhall Town 1.
Yeah. If you were betting man, you might have put the draw down there beforehand.
Haybridge Swifts 2, Tilbury 1. Tilbury took the lead there, and it's a different kettle of fish, playing Tilbury now. All of a sudden, do you know what I mean? It's not.
Well, change of manager, got a few more people, haven't they? But obviously, Julian's still doing well over at Haybridge. They're still amongst the aren't they? So. That's Averley's next visit away to Tilbury. A few weeks ago, probably looked like it was a 3-pointer in the bag, but probably not.
Yeah. It's going to be funny, that timing. Timing of when you go somewhere is you can ride your luck 4 or 5 weeks where you just happen to be there, and the other way around, which tended to be my form. Maybe we turn up at absolutely the wrong time.
I want to turn up somewhere Saturday,
Yeah.
Sudtown Rangers 0, AFC Sudbury 2. Not sure if that was the first game that Mr. Morsley had to go and sit in the stand for, but did chat to him last week, and it was quite funny. But it's a good result for Sudbury.
Yeah, it's so much offering, aren't they? We said that. So they picked a couple of results up, and now they need their points, don't they? They need to start picking up more home form to get away.
So Whittam Town 2, Romford 0, and I think is that 2 in 2, or is it 3 in 3? I'm not sure what it is now, but all of a sudden they've started to pick up the 3 points, and all of a sudden that gap that looked quite big all of a sudden is down to a point.
Yep, that's what happens.
So doing really well. Into the shall we say mishmash league, jigsaw league, whichever we want to call it. South Central, Bracknell Town 3, Marlow 3, 290.
I see that as being a low scoring draw. 0-0 or 1-1, yeah. But the draw didn't surprise me, but the amount of goals.
I think most of us on the other show on the Friday all went draw, and I think somebody joked and went, well, it'd probably be 6-6, but it went far off, but 3-3. But Bracknell, I mean, I saw them play your boys, Craig, and they were trying to hit you on the break sort of constantly, weren't they, on that day? They looked a decent outfit.
Good side. Funny enough, when we played Marlow, I see it as 2 points drop of drew 0-0, and I thought we should have won that game. And at the time, I thought they were like a mid-table side, but from then on, they've gone on a fantastic run, and they've just been not just winning games, but winning games well, because they couldn't score many goals, but the defensive record was fantastic. Mm-hmm. But they've scored goals, they've beat good teams, and they've really gone on a march. And fair play to them, they're where they deserve to be.
Well, James Sykes has just tweeted, said, "Sound like the Craig for me, Georgie's day."
Yeah. Tell him to leave Tilbury and come over to us.
Is that Whoops. We can all say what
He's a mate, isn't he?
Anyway, Shalford, St Peter, Neil, where one. Quickly get over the top of that. Lake Golf, where there, Brandon, 87 minutes in that one. 39 at Shalford, St Peter at the weekend.
39.
39.
They've done well.
They played?
Where?
Can't see where taking many, can you?
No.
Good result for Ware, though.
Yeah, very good result. They picked right up with Paul. Yeah. He was under a bit of pressure, and they've done really well.
Cheshunt 2, Bedford Sports 2, 2 late goals, Craig.
Yeah, disgraceful. We was robbed. Fair play to them. I mean, they battled away at the end. I thought we was comfortably the better side. I thought for 85 minutes, and 3 minutes to go, they scored 2 goals. For the last one, I was really disappointed. I didn't think it was that free kick. They've got a free kick, but it was in an area really we should deal with, and we haven't dealt with it at all. And it was really disappointing for us to and it still feels like a loss. When you're 2-0 up with 3 minutes to go, you expect to see it out, and we did. And so fair play to them. They go to the end and got a good point.
Egham Town 1, Northwood 3. Yeah,
well, we went over to Egham and we were awful a couple of weeks ago. They bit us with the last kick of the game in the 95th minute. And I don't think they got out their half up for other than the 2 goals. And I thought they'd picked up because they signed some good players. They got a boy from Hampton who we were trying to get, Ryan Hill, who got the goal. They've got Curtis Huge over there who's captain. And I expected them to win that game. And so it was a bit of a surprise to see them go down.
Hanwell Town 1, Westfield 4.
I thought Hanwell were a good side, and we played Westfield and beat them very comfortably over there, and we lost to Hanwell. So I would have put that as a home banker. So it's a great result for Westfield.
Is that a bit difficult actually in and out the shoppers when you're playing away to them?
Sorry?
Where Westfield?
So
Yeah.
I don't go shopping. So
They've got a problem with jumpers for goalposts there.
I tell you something. The pitch, it's right beside me, Hanwell. It's about 2 minutes from my house. The surface is unbelievable for non-league. Yeah, it's like,
trophy. I've said it. Best service.
Yeah.
We played them, and it was an absolute. It was torrential rain the whole day. And it was. I must have been sort of nipping up wherever it was on, and it was. It wasn't great that day, but it wasn't their fault. I mean, it was just, a lot of hands, I think, would have been off that day.
Yeah.
Hazen Yedding 5, FC Romania 1. And I've been told anybody that finishes above Hazen Yedding will win the league.
I said that before the season, and I don't think anyone will. But there you go. It's early days, you never know. Yeah. And then, they get. I thought they had won their division last year, and they get them. And I've seen it with a lot of teams. It's all right. You get there. It's that last couple of months you've got the bottom to go and win it. And,
exactly. I think all you're doing.
A lot of teams fold under the pressure. We've seen it at the ice levels in the Premier Division. So they've still got it all to do, but I I would say the best side in the league.
Yeah, so it's winning from in front, and it's being up there and sustaining it. Was it the saying golf doesn't start till the back nine on a Sunday, and football, once you get through the Boxing Day fixtures, I always think you're nagging into the back nine, if you like, and that's when people's moods change. And if you're up there to be shot at. So every team that turns up's motivated to play against you. So you have to keep producing them performances, But
the only thing I say with Hayes, I mean, the sides they should be, they tend to come, they give them good ideas. But you think, cool. And then all of a sudden they'll have a game and they'll get beat. You think, where's that come from? It's a smashing team. Yeah. And he set them sort of on regular little bases through the season. So
just look they've got some power, haven't they? Plus 35 in 13 games, so they must have some firepower.
You score goals like that, you're doing all
right,
looking at
the next nearest is 22, played 16, they're 35 in 13, so.
Crazy, yep. Hertford Town, good result for them, 5, Chipstead 3. 2, sorry.
Yeah, they've been really struggling, Hertford, and I didn't see that coming, but in Chipstead, we played on a bad side. So I would have booked Chipstead to win that, but it's a great result for Ireland.
South Park 2, Ashford Town 5.
No real surprise. From what I've seen, we played South Park, and I thought they were, really going to struggle.
Yeah, they're in trouble.
So.
2, Ingham Mission United 4, Uxbridge 2.
They beat some form, Craig. Since
we beat them really comfortably, and it was just, and we put a 7 down at a striker, and since then I don't think he's gone a game without scoring. And that football, that sort of killed him coming to us. I think, I think we'd have had a chance of getting him, and but they've done really well to it, and they're marching up the league, and I think they've got a good spirit amongst their players. They seem to all be quite tight with their manager and the group, so always got a chance. And they are scoring goals, so yeah.
And Waltham Abbey 3, our friends Molesley 0.
Yeah, obviously shame for Molesley, but I'm pleased for Michael Spencer going in at Waltham Abbey. He's next player of mine, he's the next player of everyone's, I think. But he's a lovely fellow, and he stepped in, and he's good to get off to a winning start.
Yeah. I was pleased for him, and I spoke to him in a week. And, you can see he was really keen for it, and that's a good opportunity. I think he's doing a bit over there, and it's a really good win for him because Molesley have been getting some decent results lately. They've had a change in management, and their results have picked up. So, and they didn't have a great start. They lost to Romania at home, which was a bad result for them. But that's a good result for them.
We're going into the South East Division in Ashford United 0, Whiteleaf 0, 218 now.
To be fair, they was down to 10 men as well for about half hour, wasn't they? Didn't Corey get sent off or something?
Yeah,
I thought they'd go on and win that.
I watched Ashford last week at Phoenix when our game was called off, and I thought it was quite solid. We played Whiteleaf the week before, and to be fair, we drew 0-0 ourselves, but how we didn't win 4 or 5, I don't know. They're keeping an absolute welding. Fair play to them, it happens. But then they've gone, and I think last Saturday they got a great result. I think they smashed, was it Faversham as well? So I was shocked, maybe the 0-0. I thought it'd be goals.
Yeah, I thought it'd be goals as well. They did score 6, and the keeper was sent off the week before, though, wasn't it? Early doors, he got sent off, and I thought it'd be goals, especially when the game obviously down to 10 men. I thought Ashford might have gone on to nick that one.
Yeah.
Cray Wanderers 1, Phoenix Sports 1.
Well, being with the lads, I was with Phoenix on Friday. We had our normal Tingle Creek Sandown journey, and they were a bit. What's the best way of putting it? Anxious about going over. They've record over at Cray's never been good, and I just said to them, I fancy nicking a draw. Spoke to them yesterday, and they well deserved it by all accounts. First half they were very good.
Alex Teniolo again.
Yeah, he scored. I think is it Joe Taylor's who's come from Margate.
Yeah.
He's got an equaliser, a good finish. But no, they were pleased with it. It's a very good point as well.
I've got to. Do you remember Ian Jenkins, who's a great Jenkins? I went on. This is just a commercial break. This story, but I went on holiday in the summer to meet Menorca it was, and I'd hired a villa, and we'd sort of arrived on the first flight, and we got there before the family had left. And, it's no big deal. I walked in, It was Janko. And actually, I was getting into the, so next minute, me and him were roaring around like laughing, but I hadn't seen him for years. But just, what's the chances that my guy's going, who's he talking to? You know, like, 'cause the language was blew really quickly, you know, it was like, but just Cray Wanderers game, we're just talking about sort of old times.
East Grinstead Town 1, Greenwich Borough 3.
What a great result that is for us going over there at the moment with Greenwich Borough. It's a, you know, East Grinstead a difficult side.
Yeah, look, we played them a few weeks back at Ashford, and we didn't play well that day. It was one of our worst performances of the season, but we won 2-1. But Matt's got them trying to play, got some good young players. But then we played Greenwich a few weeks later, and again, they're one of them sides. What on their day they've got players what can turn up and can hurt you. They've got individuals there what can a lot of pace, a lot of ability, and on their day if they turn up and almost put a team performance in, they're going to beat teams without a shadow of a doubt. And Hussa going there, obviously probably change the style of play a little bit and get them playing how the league should be played almost. And it proved that on Saturday with a win at East Grinstead. That's a great win.
Well, someone tweeted and said that Dave's allowed to tell his stories as he hasn't got Caroline Barker telling him.
But the real professional you're talking about?
Faversham Town 3, Sittingbourne 1.
That shocked me. That not only because Faversham have been struggling. I know Sittingbourne's they've lost. I think that's 8 on the spin now.
Yes.
We was meant to go there last Saturday when it was called off, which was a right kick in the goose for us.
Timing, isn't it? And it's timing.
And it was kept us right amongst it with them, and you're like, but it happens. But obviously, new managers got in there as well. And
2 big strong sides as well. Like obviously meeting and Sittingbourne. I'm surprised they've gone and lost 8 in a row. Like I haven't seen them earlier. They're a big strong side. They're good at what they do. They cause problems through set pieces, long throws, free kicks, and I'm surprised they haven't won more games in the 8 they've lost. You know, instead of. But then Faversham are a big strong side as well, so they've probably matched them up and come out on top. They've got some good players as well.
Haywards Heath 2, Hastings 1. Is that the shock of the weekend?
No, Haywards Heath were a good side. And especially, you know, we went down there early in the season and they've got stronger since. They adapted to the league. You know, I did say at the time Hastings were the best side that I've seen this year, and I know we're going there Saturday, but they were out there forward who got suspended the week before, sent off. And I don't know, maybe the pitch might not have suited them a little bit because they like to play very quick, and it might, you know, I don't know what the conditions were like down there. But
Pitch is not bad there though, is it? Like to be fair, we went there early season and the pitch was.
It was quite spongy though. And you thought
Oh, we went there a bit early. It was. I thought it was all right. The pitch there. I thought it wasn't a bad surface, but as you said, they're a good side. They got some good players, and they were adapting to the league now, aren't they? And they're on a run.
Hive Town 2, Horsham 4.
That didn't surprise me at all.
No.
Because Horsham are a decent side. Obviously, going away from home, we played them. They're the only team that's out-battled us all year. They were very organised, very worked hard, and they were on a very, very good run.
Horsham, for me, probably the best side that we faced, barring obviously Cray. Especially, we was 2-0 up, and then for an hour, all right, we didn't have the personnel to be able to change to match them up or to counter them, but for what they did to us, they battered us second half and deserved the win. It was a 97-minute winner, but they deserved it on the back of the hour they put in against us. It was outstanding.
3 Bridges 3, Ramsgate 1. Of course, another one without a manager as well.
Yeah, and you know my thoughts on that. We spoke about it, and I feel sorry for Lloyd. I know Lloyd well. I've known him for since he played, and he's come out on social media and said the reason. Obviously, with obviously Paul Bowden Brown going in there. We just couldn't work with him. I've quite informed that I think a manager may be in by Saturday already. But I wish him well, whoever goes in there. But it's a shame. It's a shame because they were doing well. He had his side sort of organised to what he had. They were sitting quite.
I watched them at Cray the other week, and they drew 0-0, and they had their chances as well. Cray obviously went down to 10, but they had their chance. They looked a well organised and difficult team to beat, and again some good individuals. The front boys are decent. A couple of boys at the back. Good, and Lloyd had them well organised, and he's a top man, Lloyd.
VCD 2, Guernsey 3, last minute penalty.
Yes, I might let Craig say this. He's pretty similar to his game. It's a fair play to Guernsey. They'd come over, they were really early and all their flight, and what lovely people. But smash and grab is one thing I'd say. But again, I did say the worst referee performance of the year for us. He's had one, and Dave's had one.
Well, we won, and I was just saying that Mind you, I'd rather had Keith's story before we went on there. It was much better, much more colourful. Your story of it, you know.
Yeah, listen. After I've shown you the highlights of the free kick for their goal. Even though the finish for the free kick's brilliant, but it never was. And we should have been out of sight at half time. Ourselves to blame. We could have been 5 or 6 up, but just certain things change games, and this did. And the story I didn't tell you, which I thought I was going to say, apart from all how bad he was, he even booked their substitute that never got on. He got the wrong number. He put number 14, our 14 got booked, and he gave it to them, and he didn't even get on. And even the Guernsey people, they apologised after the game, and fair play. They battled, they kept going. Second half, the conditions, it was a bit more of a scrappier game than the first, but. Listen, sometimes it happens, but the penalty, I didn't think there was never a penalty in the last minute, and it happens. But I'm pleased for Malachi Hudson, who started his first full league game for us after being out for 18 months with the injuries, and he scored twice as well. He was out, obviously, no Ali Fassini, who Gal knows goes away at Christmas.
He's done his disappearing act.
But I think I've said earlier, I think there's a major concern about the standard of officials, and it's nice to be able to say it because we'd won at the weekend, and I don't want to make it flippant, but I think there's some massive investment needed in that part of the game throughout the game. I don't even know. Don't ask me what the answer is. I don't know what the answer is, but I know that what we're getting on a weekly basis isn't really up to the standard.
Well, like I said to you, at half time when I might have just put the flag down. He went, it's just not even me. Actually, see.
I've had that argument a couple of times. Like they're meant to be a team, aren't they? Work together, but sometimes they totally ignore. But you know what? It is a difficult job.
It is not. No, listen, it's the.
But there are some good ones though. Like I've had some excellent ones. I've had some good ones this year, and the ones where are annoying ones are the ones where you can't speak to them. Like they almost push you away before you've said something, and you're like, mate, let's have a chat about this and see where we go. But some of them don't want to speak to you, and straight away that gets you back up, doesn't it?
Guernsey filmed the game live, and anyway, so we just said we'll send it. I just sent that performance to the FA and let them have a look at it.
Yeah.
For me, it was like he was on his Christmas tree the night before. Well, I can send it to the lad. I know.
A lot of them now have like people coming to watch them and mark them, don't they? But as you said, it doesn't seem to change.
But it's not. There's a couple of things about it. I mean, and I agree with you. They are the good ones, and I'm not trying to tar everyone with it. I'm just saying, as a standard, I feel throughout football it's a massive issue, but it's just trying to. Sometimes we're the worst in the world. I can get quite heated, and it's the wrong place to go at the wrong time, and I've tried to keep away from that. It is the hardest job. I wouldn't do it for a pension. Do you know what I mean? But I just feel that they're failing referees. I think we need to look at them and help them. I'm sort of.
I think what Garish was the thing that got me Saturday. I mean, it must be 10 years since I've ever been reported by a referee. He gave him a penalty in the first half. And, it ended up they keep saved it anyway. It wasn't a penalty in a million years. We got it filmed as well. It was never a penalty. He's not in the greatest position to see. He's on the other side of the penalty area, and it's right in front of the linesman, right in front of him. 15 yards away. Clear view of it, and all that was going to have a work with the line. And he wasn't. And I just thought that was so arrogant. And like you say, they're a team. He should go and consult them and say, what do you think? Because when the keeper saved it, and Limes do you think that was a pen? He goes, I don't see anything there to give a penalty. And that was his exact words. And it soured it on me. And whether it was right, wrong, or indifferent, I thought the free kick where they got the goal wasn't a free kick. But I think that when things like that happen, you can't help but be a little bit blinkered in how you are. And I didn't react the best way I should have after the game. But I thought, how can you be so arrogant that you can't ask?
You can't ask your mate. He's meant to be helping you, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Who's a part of your team? Ask him his opinion.
Yeah. And the other thing, just going back to the assessors, maybe it's me, but the assessors report to the referee before the game, so they're aware you're going to say. I think it's the worst thing in the world. If you're sending a scout to watch a player, you don't let the player know. You want to see how the player plays it. So for me, let them referee the game
instead of feeling the pressure.
Instead of feeling the pressure, don't
feeling they have
pressure
to make a decision. You know,
exactly.
like
We had a referee for Billericay, and the top referee, assessor or whatever it was, in the FA game. There's all the Essex referees. And I said, I can't believe you tell them beforehand. You shouldn't tell them because they're refereeing just with you in mind.
Absolutely.
See them refereeing, how they would referee on a normal Saturday. Yeah. But he said they're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, but why?
We done a show last year, all refs.
Yeah.
And I Steve Allison just mentioned it here. And I said, and you said, what are they going to do? I think they should have to do training once a week in their county. Like all the referees, you can pair 3 people up as a team a lot of the time, so they know who they're working with. They should go. The counties have a lot of youth, the county sides, rep sides. Let them go once a week. They've got to go training where the coach or the assessors, even that watch their game on the Saturday, can step in and go, right, I think you could have done that, you could do that.
Yeah, seen that.
But like if your right back plays really bad on Saturday, on Tuesday, you'll pull him in and go, right, we need to work on this.
Yeah.
They don't, so and I've said this to the FA, and we've done a massive thing. Make the FA invest money so they can have training.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, instead of giving some guy a bundle of money who's earned a bundle of money for walking away, put it into something like that that's going to benefit us.
If you go to your right back, here's a list of notes. What I thought you'd done wrong. Go away and read them, and then come back on Saturday and play. He'll look at you and go, "Oh, you're all right." And if you get their notes on the side and go out. You've got to coach them, and referees are no different.
From my right back, I'd have to get someone to read them to him. I'm only joking, that's a joke.
He's ringing.
I'll get on with a lot of them.
Yeah.
But they do need help. They need massive help.
Yeah, they do. I think the way I try and help them, I stay out of their way.
But they're going to feel they've got to make a decision on everything if someone's watching them.
That's it.
Instead of football swings and roundabouts, you'll get some this and you get some. So it might be a ref or lets it flow. Like there might be a couple of tackles where you don't like, but then later on in the game there might be a couple against and let it flow. But he's feeling because he's being watched. Absolutely. Like you're saying about the scout, he's being watched. He's got to make that decision.
Because we've all been in that
let him be and then talk to him after, or like you're saying, can they not film the game and then say, "There's your video, go and study." Go and watch your refereeing. Like have a camera to.
I refereed 2 games last week. Like kids game, but then my under 18s manager came in.
Well, to be fair, rest my case.
A ref in a county cup game ain't turned up. You ref the game for me, and I'm like, here we go.
Yeah.
So they all lined up to do the handshake. I was down there, and they went to shake me out of it. Don't bother shaking my hand. I said, who really wants to shake the referee's hand? I'm just here to ref.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you both play. You crack on. I said, I'm going to play as much as I can. Your tackle will go in. I didn't get one problem. Right? And I'm not saying that under 18s who can be as feisty as they want.
Absolutely.
Not one issue. One manager, I'll tell you, one of my players moaned at me. I didn't give him free kicks. I played fine and we scored. And I was just and that was it. And it was how you manage them and how you talk to them. I was talking to them, and a couple of them were laughing back at me. Well, I wasn't taking a pee out.
Yeah.
Didn't have an issue.
I think you get to know them ones though, the ones you get on with, the ones you can have a laugh, but then you'll get the ones what you're saying are poor refs or don't want to listen.
It was the same sort of thing when I used to do the refereeing with the kids and stuff like that, on a Sunday in the local Harlow League. You get given your game and you look, jeez, it's going to be a nightmare today. And maybe not because of the kids, but because you know who the managers are on touchline. Do you know what I mean? Whichever you blow your whistle, whichever way round it is. And I'd always get dumped with like a derby game or a game between the top two, and you look at it and go, here we go again. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be kick off today.
I think that's the problem. I think they might know what you're like and think, I'm going to this. And they say they don't, but they shouldn't come into it. They should just ref the 90 minutes what's in front of them.
Yeah. They said, I think...
I did when I was at Billericay as well, I got asked to do, if you like, go on a stage and have all the Essex referees, a lot of them on lower levels and that, a question and answer thing.
Yeah.
And it was quite daunting, really, to go there. And I remember one of the questions was from the referee. He said, "What do you think, mate? What do you think the single factor makes a good referee?" I said, because there's obviously loads that make a good referee and a bad referee. I said, if you said to me, what I like in a referee is someone who I think enjoys the game. when he goes out there and you see he's got a smile on his face and he looks like he's enjoying it. I mean, we have some referees, and I'm thinking, I don't know why you do this, because you can see he's not. He doesn't like it. He doesn't want to be there. They can't. They're waiting for these little thing to bomb cards out. Whereas someone who's enjoying it, and he'll make bad decisions. And I think if you tend to accept that. Oh, well, he's made, because we all make mistakes. I make mistakes. Saturday, my players did, and you know, and I referee will. But I think if they're doing it in the right manner and they've got a smile on their face, I think you'll swallow it. You know, because
let's just we can come back to it in a minute. That's right. Just so we can get this last game going, and then we'll get to the bloke and we'll come back to the referee again. So the last game is Whitstable Town 0, Herne Bay 4.
Yeah, well done. Listen, that is a very good, because they've been shipping goals for fun. Whitstable, the big side.
It's the derby, isn't it? Yeah,
it's
massive derby. Yeah.
Brilliant result.
They needed that big time.
Right, let's get Carl on the phone, and we'll have a chat with Carl, and then we'll come back to that. We'll go into Chester and Ashford Town, long-leaf programme, and etc.
Have a chat with Carl. I need to make a call because I've had an issue in work.
See you right back.
Got to make a phone call at work. Been offered another job.
Battery 100%.
Hello, Carl. Are you there, mate?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear us all right?
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly all right, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Good, thank you. Just watching the show with your heated discussion on referees.
That's not heated, Cole. That's quite laid back.
and I suppose one thing. Do you want? He's a gentleman to my right hand side, and you probably to your left hand side. You can see on the screen. But of course, I think you go down to his ex-league ground quite regularly, don't you?
Sorry?
You go down to his ex-league ground very regularly, don't you? Down at Millwall.
Yes, I do indeed. Yes. Yeah, I'm commentating on them this season. I've been down there commentating with Mick Payne, funnily enough. Mick I saw on here a minute ago with a text to the show. He's helped out a couple of times co-commentating. I've got Les Briley at the minute. He used to play for Millwall, a couple hundred appearances. And yeah, I've been following the mighty Millwall here, there and everywhere. And I've got a wonderful trip to Preston on Saturday, which would be nice to see.
Well, I suppose if we go back to when we were doing the show together, mate. I mean, any sort of show that sort of stands out. I mean, there's one for me, and that was when we spoke, and you know that you had the issues with epilepsy, and that we had young epilepsy people come in, and that show sort of was one of the ones that actually sort of stood in my mind of shows that we did together. It was a great night with those guys.
That was, and funnily enough, to do with epilepsy, obviously Leon Legg came in and did the show with us. Leon now is playing at Port Vale, and sadly he's missed the last couple of weeks. He had 4 seizures during the night, had to miss a couple of weeks off. He'd been in hospital and everything. He's only just going back to training now, and he hadn't had any for years. So I think that sort of highlights the condition, like we mentioned on the show. It's one of those things that you think us behind you, and suddenly there you go. And it doesn't matter if you're a fit, healthy man like Leon is, plays his football, fit as a fiddle, but it's just one of those conditions that unfortunately can, irrespective of age or anything, can still affect you.
Literally walking off the training pitch, just went, no signs of it, trained, couldn't remember training.
No, it didn't actually happen there, it happened at home.
No, I'm saying I played with Leggy at Brentford a few years back, and the same thing happened. He trained normal, as we was walking in, just collapsed, and that was it. That might have been the last seizure he had, and obviously you're saying it's,
I mean, it's scary stuff as well.
Very.
If you've seen it, it's not a pretty thing to watch.
It's not nice to see, no.
No, far from it. And I mean, Leggy's a strong lad. We do some charity work with young epilepsy and various things. The really good thing I think with Leon is that he's not ashamed of it. He doesn't hide from it. He spoke about it. He actually sent out a tweet. I don't know if you guys follow him on Twitter, but he put out an official sort of tweet via Port Vale explaining to the fans why he hadn't been playing, what had happened. It won't defeat him. He's now back in training. So, that's a good thing. He's not, going to let it stop him, sort of thing.
But I mean, from the show, you're going great guns now. With BBC and stuff like that as well. So your career going in the right direction for yourself.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think when we last spoke, Dave, I think I was probably covering Barnet at the time as a guest when I first sort of cut my teeth in commentary. And obviously now we're 10, 12 years down the line. I can't remember how long ago it was. We did Hawks Radio, and I was in the back of that I think it was like a little,
yeah. 5 years ago. That was, yeah.
Yeah, was it really? Crikey, time flies, doesn't it? Yeah, but, yeah, no, it's gone really well. It's surreal in all honesty. I try and get down and watch Robbie and the boys, when Soham are playing. Unfortunately, I've only made it twice this year. Oh, and by the way, you were mentioning Coggeshall. Ollie Mers came to Soham, come on. He knows where he needs to go. He's heard of the food and hospitality week. And he still came. Yeah, so he come along and, no, I mean, Robbie's got a young side down there. We had our team bricked out when, Robbie Nightingale went to Cambridge City. He took half the team with him. But, Robbie's stuck by most of the players. We've had to get a couple in here and there. And when I have seen them, considering, like I said, what a young team they've got, they do really, really well. They work hard for each other. You can see they back the manager. And, yeah, they're a good side down there. And I think, results are picking up. They've had a couple of setbacks. But considering what happened to the team, they're doing really, really well.
I mean, I know they came to Aveley at Millfield, and Karen then was absolutely pulling her hair out. That was a couple of seasons ago. And
she's always pulling her hair out.
I think she was ready to jump off a bridge because she thought it was the end for Soham, and they were definitely going to get relegated. And then it went on a complete run at that end of that season, and were saved quite easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, as you boys know, momentum's everything, isn't it? You get a couple of wins together, and suddenly you can almost sense the next victory. But when it's the other way around and you're losing games, you feel the gods are against you, like you guys were mentioning about referee, and you think, that decision went against you, like it could be a key offside or a goal disallowed or a penalty you don't think was. So you think luck's against you, but if you get that momentum together, that can help. I mean, Sam had been on a poor run, got a couple of wins, and got a great win at Canby Island a couple of weeks ago, and I think the future's going to be good.
And are you still doing all your commentary workshops with Barry?
We've stopped for a while. We've both been really busy. I mean, now I'm back doing it every week. I mean, I was commentating for BBC Manchester, doing a bit for BBC London. I was all just picking and choosing games more than every week, but now with Millwall, I'm covering them every single week. Barry's doing some good work. He's down at TalkSport doing some online commentaries for them, and so we're both just totally stacked up on a Saturday. We still love doing it. We want to support non-league football. We try and get to still do these workshops. We still get a really good turnout. We still get 20, 25 people wanting to come along to these, where basically we have people that want to get into commentary. Either they genuinely want to. We get some quite young lads come down there. They're studying various things at college or university to do with media. Or we get people that simply want to do it. They get it almost given as a birthday present. We've had some people down there in their 50s and 60s just fancied having a go, never done it before. We went and did one down at Met Police, and they were really hospitable to us. And they loved it. You just have a little chat, how we got into it, show them the equipment we use, get them out there, give them a microphone, set of cans, explain how we cover it, give them recording equipment, and then they go away with the disc at the end of it. So sort of, as a little memorabilia of the day, or if they want to use it as a demo disc to take on and try and get some work, within the local teams.
Cole, as you just said that, one of our listeners actually just asked, Jake Murphy, she's actually asked if you've got any tips on how to get into commentary. So where would he be able to go and do this?
Any tips? I mean, I got into it, in all honesty, I did hospital radio, like Dave to an extent, with Hawks Radio, you come in, and if you get the opportunity to do anything like that, I'd say don't fine-tune yourself, as in think, right, I'm going to be a football commentator, that's it, I'm going to be working for Sky Sports, Martin Tyler must be giving up soon, that's my job, I'm going to have it in a couple of years. You need to be realistic. I think the problem is people watch things like X Factor and things like that, they imagine the route to the top so fast and easy, to an extent, obviously. I'd say best thing to do is learn how to use your voice on air. Hospital radio was fantastic for me. I worked there, or volunteered there, should I say, for a couple of years. There's no expectation on you. There's no pressure because you're doing it for free. All the patients know you're doing it for free. So you just get used to talking, obviously on the radio and things like, I'd say that's one of the key things is just learning that beforehand, get a bit of confidence, go to your non-league grounds, go to your Biggleswade, your Harlows, your Hitchins, Sohams, whoever, go to them, ask them, say, look, can I come into the ground, record a bit? By all means, if you want to use any of it on your website or whatever, you're more than welcome. You've got then a demo that, that carries something. It's showing, hang on a second, I'm proving that I want to go out there. I want to do something. I'm not just writing you a CV and saying, give me work. I'm showing you that this is my demo. Sky Sports actually are really good. If you write to Sky, they're very good at giving out work experience to anybody. But again, don't fine-tune yourself. You might not be doing any type of commentary, but they'll get you in somewhere where you can work behind the scenes, see how it's done, make contacts, network. Networking's pivotal, absolutely pivotal. The minute you get your hands on any contact whatsoever, never let go of them until they literally put a restraining order on you. Because you need to. It's, once you're in, it's a lot easier to move around. So that first step's just huge.
Well, I'm sure Jake will be happy with that.
Yeah, hopefully my obviously short answer there.
You haven't done any commentating?
No, I did a little bit Saturday at a game, just with BBC Humberside, a bit with Burnsy up in. Yeah, it's not easy, you know, like it's not easy. No. You got to obviously concentrate constantly. Burnsy does most of it, and I was just sort of coming in and analysing. But
that bit, I think we could all handle.
Yeah,
you know, I've done that
that's
where
it.
You need someone beside you who's the brains, because we actually tried it one day at I think it was the FA Trophy final, where they said same sort of thing, Carl. They said, look, just do it, and we'll take bits of it out for the non-league show. And I had to try and do the commentary. When you listen back to it, it's horrendous.
It's most embarrassing.
So hard. What's this?
That's it. On Saturday, I had the same, but they know everything.
When you're beside one of the guys, like I've worked with Phil Parry, when you're beside them, they just flow. It's just a real.
Know everything about the player. They must do their homework building up to the game and know everything about the player. So if that player comes up, chat about it. You know, like whereas we turn up, go commentate.
Exactly.
Oh, number 4. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
You know, like.
Well, I cheat. I mean, the great thing is now with the internet. I mean, John Motson, you've probably heard, he used to go to the library and study. But now with the internet, the most pivotal thing is research beforehand. Like you mentioned about players, so on and so on. I mean, I did Millwall, Hull at the weekend. I vaguely knew Hull's team, but the good thing is now you can go online, you can watch highlights from their last game, you can go online, see what the players look like, where they come from, and you just make snippets of information. I have an A4 piece of paper, it's like my stat sheet, it's all set up where it has half of it on Millwall, half of it on Hull. I know how they lined up in their last games, the formation, the players, the this, the that, the other, and then it's all there in front of you. I sometimes don't use it, but it's there just as a safety blanket almost. So if you are struggling or if you need something to say, you've just got it all in front of you, which just helps it flow better. And I'd say probably when you're doing commentary or something, that first paragraph or something's just pivotal again, just to give you that confidence to when you start speaking, everything just flows. It's just that first part when you open up. I mean, I always open up literally exactly the same. It's always the same sentence, but it just helps everybody listening in. It's just roughly along the lines of sort of, good afternoon, welcome to the den for today's Sky Bet Championship fixture between Millwall and Hull. I'm Carl Bates, courtesy of BBC London, and I follow alongside me, and so on and so on and so on. But it's just that initial paragraph, it just makes you feel more comfortable, confident. You start the ball rolling, and I'm sure, like when you were doing your commentary, listening back again, I'm sure as you went on, I'm sure it sounded a lot better, but it's just that bit at the start. Same as when I first started. Oh, Christ, I've listened back to some of the ones I did for Barnet. Jesus, the first game I did away at Chesterfield, awful. Probably still makes me cry now if I listen to it again.
But do you feel, Carl, you know, we've got these sort of first round of the FA Cup, second round of the FA Cup, you know, third round of the FA Cup if non-league sides get there. And I've had this sort of conversation before, but do you honestly think that there should be somebody that knows non-league should be doing the commentaries, you know, on that? I mean, even to the extent of somebody like Martin Tyler that's been involved in non-league that should be doing it, or there should be somebody there that knows the non-league, even summarising, that actually knows what's going on.
Sorry, just to interrupt, just quickly. AFC Wimbledon played Horngate Borough, and I texted Caroline. Funny enough, I just texted her and went, AFC Wimbledon playing against a non-league side on the BBC. Where would you get someone who would know anything about non-league, anything about AFC Wimbledon, and work for the BBC? I said, "You have any idea?"
She come back, no.
She came back. No, you know. But I think not because I don't mean I was plugging myself. I says it was perfect for it, but it doesn't irritate me that it's not me. It irritates me that we're bypassed. It's always the face. It's always the name. Whereas I think at that stage of the competition, it should be about non-league. So it should be Craig Evans. You know, it shouldn't be the guy. Do you know what I mean? Sorry, Carl, I was just jumping in.
No. I agree. I think, in all honesty, with the coverage that I've seen when it comes to a third round tie, and you've got the supposed giant killing from a non-league side, I think to an extent it's slightly condescending when you see it on the television. They talk about them, oh, bless him, look, he's a plumber, he does this. He's doing well for himself. Instead of having somebody, as you quite rightly mentioned, maybe not doing necessarily the commentary, but like at the start on the television where they'll have 2 or 3 pundits standing on the pitch talking, they should have somebody in there with immense experience across non-league, because then it makes more sense. It taps into non-league, and it also highlights that non-league isn't all about, sort of jumpers for goalposts and this backward way of thinking. They almost try to make you brainwash you into believing. There's a lot of people that follow non-league football, and it is important to somebody. As I say, if I'm not working, the first thing I'll do is get down and check Sam's football list and see if I can get to a game. So no, I couldn't agree more. They should have more non-league people in there. They still know their stuff, and they know more about football than they do at non-league level. I wouldn't expect us to be talking about the Premiership, because those are the guys that cover it every week. So why, when it's a non-league game, when let's face it, they'll have seen no matches probably, should they be classed as having a more sort of, informed opinion than yourself if it's your team involved?
Absolutely. Listen, Carl, I don't turn much more of your time. I know you're a busy man, so a massive thank you. Thank you for what you did for the show when you was.
No problem. As well. Here's to another 100 or 2.
really appreciate that, mate. So thanks very much, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, no, take care. Thanks a lot,
mate. See you, mate. Bye.
Cheers.
And that was Carl Bates, who used to do it in the back of a shop, believe it or not, Dave, in Harlow, which was the days when it was absolutely freezing. That's the only way I can say to you, sitting in the back of there and trying to whack all the heating on and all the rest of it, but you just physically just couldn't.
Look where you are now. I send this as some setup now.
We're moving up slowly but surely. We'll be Wembley next, or next to you at the BBC. Yeah. But I suppose one of the questions I've been asked, and I suppose I'll ask you the same question, Keith, if you've got one. But people have always keep asking me about. If you've done the show, you've done 200, people have texted me this week and said, which one was your favourite show you've done and all the rest of it. And I actually go quite a way back to a show, and I've said it on here before, and unfortunately the gentleman's passed away now, and he was the chairman at Crawley Down Gatwick. At the time went on to be chairman at Peacehaven and Telscoot, and his name escapes me, so I was just trying to have a look, because I did still have his WhatsApp, because I kept it on here for some reason. But it was one of those shows where beforehand we used to have the news, because we was part of Hawks Radio at the time, so we'd have the news, and we were speaking to him. He said, look, Dave, he said, just so you know, he said, I'm on the burger bar. He said, at the under-18s, he said, you've got an under-18s game, and I'm on the burger bar. So I was sitting there and I'm thinking, right, okay, fair enough. And sitting there talking to him, and he's talking about Crawley Down Gatwick in the days when they were part of the South League, and all of a sudden he just says to me, hang on a minute, Dave, he said, just got a customer. And we're sitting there in the studio, and all of a sudden this guy's going, all that was going to have a burger, can I have a coffee and it was funny, because I think we turned around and said, I turned in the mic and said, you wouldn't get this on the non-league show, do you know? But it was one of those programmes that always sticks in my mind, because the gentleman was, and he was a fantastic guy, and spoke to him a few times, and managed to speak to him face to face at one of the Isthmian dues at the end of the season, and unfortunately passed away from that dreaded cancer, and while he was there as well. But it was a fantastic show to be part of. It was really, really funny. But yourself, Pete, you had anything that sort of comes to mind?
I don't know. The one obviously where we had Craig in on one of these occasions was quite funny when he was cracking stories. They were the good one. The first part of it. Do you remember we got you in for the second one? Yeah. But no, listen, I think we've been lucky. We've met some good people, good managers, all got their own stories to say. We've met some fans as well. Yeah. When we went, I think we had one at Harlow. Remember, we had the fans one. Yeah. That was quite good.
I think another one of the ones for me was shot one. It wasn't even a show. It was literally on the way to a show at the actual shop. We was going up there, and for some reason the wife was with me. She was driving. She was coming up, and I've no idea if she was going to sit and freeze as well in the living room part of the front of the shop. And we're driving up, and at the time, Jerry, the then chairman of Kingstonian, phones me, and Steve was on there, and I picked the phone up and I speak to him, and he's gone, "Oh, Dave," he says, "Nice to speak to you." He said, "I've got somebody that wants to talk to you," and I'm just thinking, "He wants to speak to me?" And all of a sudden, this distinctive voice comes over the telephone. And I just froze, just completely froze, because it was just somebody you hear so often on the telly, and just his voice, and all he kept saying was, hello. I'm going, oh, sorry like that. And I said to him, I'm a bit starstruck. And he said, you ain't got to be starstruck on me. And straight away sort of built a relationship, and that was Martin Tyler. But it was one of those things that it was like, hang on a minute, this is just really weird. And then the conversation went on a little bit longer, and then he gave me his mobile number, and and I sit there and I look sometimes.
Text him every night.
I did text him today actually, see if he could come on tonight, but he's busy. But it was like, when you look through that and you see you've got a number of people like Julian Dix on your phone, you've got people like Gary's number on the phone, you've got people like Martin Tyler, and you've got other Tony Gow, and you look through the list and think, I'm just a store manager in the co-op, and they've got these people.
And I think that's healthy. I've always it's good to have your heroes. I mean, I've always got a buzz out of it. Even people you come up against. I'm from a council estate in North Belfast, and to come up against people who you've watched on TV. I always remember the first time I played against Alan Devonshire, going match of the day. To be fair, I never took a point off him in about 10 years. So, but the other one was I got to do probably the hardest one. I had to interview Martin Taylor. Like, how do you interview Martin Taylor? He's interviewed everyone, hasn't he? And lucky I've known him a while. But typical, ask him one question, sit back, and he just and then it came back, and it sounded great, and like they were saying, "Oh, it's well done." I'm going. I suppose it's like playing with, if you're centre forward and you've got someone who puts the ball in the right place, makes it look good,
And he's been on the show a few times, and we've had him on, we've had Tony's been on, he's been in the studio. The one that I was chasing for a long time, in Matt Letizier as well, and we got Matt on a couple of times. He came on and had a chat with us as well. So over the 200 shows, we've been really, really lucky. But some people say, but okay, Dave, but you've had these guys, but some of the better shows, and it's no disrespect to those guys, but some of the better shows have been when we've had our managers on, our secretaries on, etc., on the show, and even to the one occasion we got really lucky and got Caroline on.
Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah,
but we had, she came on, and the gentleman Adam Silver was on from Redbridge, and he was on the show, and she was talking to him as if she'd met him a couple of times, and I think he'd mentioned his kids on the radio. On the non-league show, but she still remembered what the names were and still asked how they were, even though he was in the studio. It was just absolutely superb. It was really, really good. But
I just think we're passionate about him, and I think when you actually only comes across the people that come on the show, managers, and what we spoke about, they are too, and I think that comes across really well as well.
I've had bus-ups with all of them.
Do you know that's the only true thing he said all night?
You know this as well when you've done the show. You do sit here as well, and I've sat here next to some people that you really don't like, and you're sitting there just going. I remember once we was in Harlow, and I'm not going to mention who it was, and he knows anyway. And I'm sitting there, and my mum texts me. And my mum didn't know anything. She went, don't you like that fella you're sitting on? It's just got me. And I'm thinking, I know what show that was. I know what show it was. I was saying it, and I went,
he's not here tonight, is it?
No. But I've found a couple of times that they've turned me. Where you should go, I'm not really living. Listen, we talk as if they're all down to come and see us. Do you know what I mean? They're probably going, oh, here we go, big mouth. But a couple of them have turned me. A couple have turned me around and going, well, okay, away from it, he's not who he is when he's there. But there's actually, I'm trying to think, and there's never going to be anything. There's only one or maybe two people that I've said to Caroline, if you get them in, by all means, I ain't coming. I'm definitely not coming because it would.
That's why she never found about it.
But that's more. I think that's a weakness.
We had people either side of us that hate each other, didn't we? Yeah. And we knew it as well. We had. I won't say who the two people were, but we were doing it, and it was actually one of these was in here, and we had one of the gentlemen sitting to my left, with Keith, and somebody that we get on really well with, but he was sitting in the studio, and then this other gentleman was on the telephone, and the person on the telephone was saying certain stuff on the telephone, and we were actually getting fed questions by the person sitting to the left, and this was days, I think we was on the radio because we was on social media at the time, but they kept passing out things because these two had a social media sort of like row constantly backwards and forwards, and it was just hilarious, wasn't it? Because it was just like question after question, but you could tell they hadn't listened to the beginning of the show because they'd have known it.
They got it, yeah.
Dean Sawyer's just been, he said his favourite show was the Thamesmead Town show from a few months ago, emotional. Obviously, Alan's phone call that he rang in close to me, that was one of the best phone calls we've had for someone that was so passionate about their club. So that's fair enough too.
And that links into maybe where we might go now, because Tommy's now gone where Gary isn't. But I mean, we were shocked at the time. I must admit, I never saw that coming in a million years. And you haven't got to speak about it. You haven't got to say what happened or anything like that.
That means you have. You know that,
you haven't got to say. You haven't got to say anything. Yeah, just saying, it was for us. It was just a massive shock. At the time, we just didn't see that coming whatsoever.
No, do you know what? You get a feeling for some people, like I was just speaking there, you either get on with someone or you don't. I'm not going to be a fake person. If I don't like somebody, you'll know I don't like you. And to be fair, as time went on, I clashed. We clashed. And to be honest, to receive a text, I had one missed call and 2 minutes later a text, which sums the person up. The text could have said, "Can you meet us in the morning?" Handshake, no problem. Do you know what I mean? I might have had a little bit more respect, but I can't have respect for someone that sacks you by text. And
no, it's nonsense. I think
that's the poor thing. Had he have met me and said to my face, or waited till Sunday morning, phoned me up and told me, no problem. But to read a text is
sorry, Gary. Clashes can be a positive thing if you've got the right people. You know, you have to. Honesty's a big thing, but obviously there was friction before that.
Yeah. Like obviously there's things go on in that club. Obviously there's a lot of chat. You know, that's for Ashford to worry about now, not for me to worry about. Which obviously I know. Look, I didn't get on with it. If I'm being honest, I was given a heads up about 4 or 5 weeks before that he was getting the job. I was told that, but we wasn't in a good run of form. Had we been in a good run of form, would I quit? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But I'm not a quitter. We wasn't in a great run of form. We was playing well. I think probably manager spoke to you, Keith. God, they're a good side, you know, and we was playing really well, not getting the results, not putting the ball in the back of the net, and obviously football's a results business. And had you done it then, no problem.
Yeah.
But when someone comes up to you and says, "Watch your back, so and so's got the job,"
that's nonsense.
You're like, you know, it's that's not really fair, is it? Do you know, like had we been winning games, I would have just gone up to the boardroom and gone, "Do you know what? Poke your job."
Yeah.
But I'm not a quitter. I knew at some point I'd turn that club around. I think I've turned it around anyway from the position it's in to where it was last year in the space of 6 months. And just to receive a text is shocking. And so I don't have no respect for the man. But do you know what? I'm not going to say Ashford because I've got my players there. They've come down. They were brilliant for me from start to finish. Jason Whitmore, hopefully one day he gets what he wants from that club and it can go the right direction. But obviously, while things go on there, it will probably be the same. And I was warned. Even when I took the job. Be careful.
Well, that's something. Yeah, and that's something.
But I want to judge myself, though. Yeah. You know, I wanted. People said, "Be careful." I said, "Look, I've got to find this out for myself." And at the end of the day, I did. So, do you know what? Would I shake the fella's hand? No.
But I was typical Phoenix Sports Club. I mean, I know they're listening. I want to watch them play. I spoke to you on that was there.
I'll see them all on the Friday night, the Letitia thing up at...
Yeah, so did they tell you what...
Yeah, Andy said, come on, who sent the text, did he?
I'm in the ballroom and Felix invited me in and I took my assistant in and all the Ashford Town are sitting down and they're sitting there, they're passing cups of tea round and the person in question is on his phone texting. So the chairman of Phoenix goes to him, "Are you sacking your manager now?" And he looks like that. And then he's such a laugh. He's gone to the four of them.
Andy's top man, isn't he?
Which one of you sent in the text?
Yeah.
Which one sent in the text? He's just come out.
Yeah, no, he said to me on the Friday night, Andy.
Yeah. So Jason's there, and so fair to Andy, he's gone. Do you think that you could have done it a bit better? And like they go out there still, and that Jason could go, well, maybe they could have. But
100% you can do it better. As I said, I wouldn't have no problems if you ring me up and go, "We're getting rid of. We want him as your manager." Look, Tommy's his mate. If he wants Tommy as his manager, you don't want me. No problem. I'll accept that. That's football. You've got a reason. No problem. But to send a text is
nonsense.
It's just disrespectful. And will I ever respect that fella again? No, I won't. He probably doesn't like me, but I don't like him. And
it's the same. It's the same at any football club. I mean, I always said, I don't know what you get away with life. You know. I was always taught, you know, it doesn't matter how beautiful the rose bush is. There's always a couple of pricks.
Yeah,
you know, and you'll find them, and if unfortunately you find them at the top level. But for me, I think if you employ someone that gives blood, sweat, and tears for your club, and goes good, goes bad, goes whatever way it goes, if you've worked hard, the least you can do is seeing face to face. If I'm getting rid of a player,
we're in a business where it comes to an end. It comes to an end, you know, for whatever reason. As a football manager, at some point you're going to get sacked. You're not going to go through your whole life without not getting a sack. And
they mostly, again, they mostly told you what they said to them on Monday when you was at the assist. They think why they said to them what they done, and Morty went, well, I don't think that would have been the case.
Yeah. No, exactly. So, as I said, I've got nothing to say. Look, it's just, if you'd have said it to my face, no problem. But, as I said, I was warned 6 weeks earlier by a fan because this person obviously likes to speak and probably speaks to the wrong people, not realising that I know a lot of people and a lot of people like me. Yeah. And they said, just be careful. And had we been winning, would I have quit a lot? Yeah, I would have. But he'd done me a favour in sacking me, to be honest.
And sorry, it always interests me and stuff, but you now as a manager, when you said, you were warned to be careful. When the next one comes up, how will it change what you do, or what have you learned out of it, guys?
What have I learned out of it? To make sure that I picked the right job, as I said, because I was warned even driving down there. Even when it came out, I had phone calls off chairman, I had phone calls off managers, I had phone calls off ex-players. Be careful of a certain person. That tells you a lot.
Yeah.
But me being me, I judge people as I find them. So I need to find things out myself. And at the end of the day, if I don't like you, I don't like you. You haven't got to like me, no problem. But let's be men about something and let's go face to face. We're not going to have a fight. It's a job. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's life. It's your club. You want to who you want in charge. You have who you want in charge. You know. So I've got to make sure the next job's right and obviously do a little bit more homework because I probably jumped in a little bit too soon, if I'm honest. But like I said in the paper, I've got a friend for life in Jason, who took me on in January to help him, knowing that he was giving me that job. And look, hopefully one day Ashford gets what it wants, and hopefully, a lot of fans want, I should say. And perhaps one day he might own that club and it can go in the direction it wants to. But at the moment, even from phone calls I've had, people tell you it's never going to go anywhere because of.
Yeah.
And that's how it is, you know. So look, I'll move on. I wish all Ashford the best.
Quickly if something comes up now, you straight into it.
I'm not going to rush. You know, like I've never had a Christmas off. If I'm being honest, if the right job comes up, no problem. Yeah. We'll sit down and talk. But I've never had Christmas off.
All from Abbey. There's loads out there.
I would pie Ramsgate straight.
I've never had a Christmas off. It's nice. Do you know what's nice? To be able to actually go and watch my boys training and things like that. I normally drop them off at Sparrows Lane at Charlton, and then I've got to drive off and say, see you later, see you in the morning, boy. I can actually stand there and watch him now. I can actually go and watch my 8-year-old play on a Saturday morning. And even if it's for a month or two, you know, that's what I want to do. Look, football's my life, so of course I want to get back in it as soon as possible. But it's a nice time of year to have a break and get to go and see, like I said, Saturday, I took a break from non-league and went Millwall. Saturday I'm at Charlton AFC, you know, and little things like that. So little break from non-league, and then hopefully in a month's time. Look, I don't want anyone to get sacked. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. Obviously, if the right job comes up and you get to have a conversation, who knows?
But sorry, Craig, just one more. Always has to be a golfer now, Gary. I'm not trying to employ you as my assistant. I'm just saying. What
you got for me?
No. Do you know what I mean? Because I was always of the opinion that it never bothered me even getting in as a number 2 for something different. But
would I go in without being disrespectful? Would I go in at a number 2 at these levels? No, it has to be a level.
What level?
At Greenwich, I had the opportunity to go and help out at Stevenage. But obviously things happened at Greenwich and I'm loyal. I wanted to see that out and see that project through. Unlucky, it didn't happen. So obviously it came to an end. But I had an opportunity then to move on probably 6 months into that job. But I'd made a commitment and I said, look, I'll try and get you to where we want to. And I turned that down. If that opportunity came up again, League 2, League 1 conference as an assistant, would I take it? Yeah. I would take it and go and learn from the other side. Because I don't think people realise how much we have to do as managers, even at this level, you know. So it'd be nice to be an assistant and at a high level. But would I be an assistant at these levels? No.
Yeah, I understand.
Well, he said, I'm going back to my very, very first job. And I was very close friends to the family of Alex Adams, Tony's dad, and we used to go on holidays and all that together. And I got offered a job, and he said, "Are you going to take it?" I said, "No, I'm not sure about the chairman." And he said to me, "Let me tell you something, son." He said, "If you're going to rely on good chairman to work with," he said, you won't work much. and it's very, very true. I mean, I've been doing it 20 years now, and it's probably...
There's ones where you can get on with, and there's ones that you can actually hate, isn't there? Do you know what I mean? And know that there's no...
Fortunately, I can say, because I'm there, I get on very well with that board and the directors and the chairman.
You just can't take photos.
People said to me, just bite your lip, but how? Sometimes you can't bite your lip. Sometimes you can't show these people respect just because of things you hear. What I've heard down the line, why am I going to respect someone what's already tapping into people behind my back and you haven't got the thing? So I can't respect someone like that.
I think as well,
I'm certainly not going to be your mate.
Win the wars you have to win. I remember Bob Dowie saying it to me 100 years ago when I worked under him, and he was unbelievable to work under. And it's the one thing he said: win the wars you have to win. And me being a big mouth, he said, and remember, when you're talking, you're learning nothing. So when you go into a room, let them talk, you know, and just two things that always stood by me. But you can be, look, I've been fortunate with chairman. You know, I would say I've probably been at 114 clubs and had 2 bad chairmen. I've just been really fortunate. But I think you're right, when you know it's wrong.
It was. I'd spoke in the coming weeks to people, and people would said, "No, stick with it." I was obviously being loyal to Jason because Jason had brought me in. He had a vision for that club, and I'd even said to him, "Look, Jay, I'm close to doing this," and he was like, "No, please stick with it." And do you know what? I'll probably leave on a high because we won 3 in a row. We was a point outside the playoffs, game in hand. You know, like, and it's look, he's going to be a friend of mine for life. You know, like it's not we still speak. You know, as mates, that's what it is now. I don't work for you anymore. We're mates.
Exactly the same thing when I was at Chelmsford. It was the biggest unkept secret in non-league that Jeff King had bought me job when I was there. And I'd like to think we had 18 fantastic months there. Really, really did well. And I asked the chair, must be on 4 or 5 occasions, what's happening? Look, you know, and it was even getting to the stage where we was going on playing teams away, and the supporters all giving me stick, like basically saying that, you know, making songs up that I'm going to be gone. And I used to ask him, look, what's that? He said, no, you're doing a great job here. You'll be here next season. The budget will go up, everything else. And this went on basically from January to the end of the season. A week after the season's ended, he said, can you come and see me? Like me and my assistant in the Lynch. Went and met him, and I knew what was coming. And he told me. And I said, listen, you know, the football club's bigger than I'll ever be. He said, he's the richest bloke I've ever met. And I said, well, be that as it may. I said, if you'd have been straight with me from the word go, it wouldn't have been an issue. I would have said to you, all right, I'll stay to the end of the season if he's taking over, blah, blah, blah. But you just feel you've been mugged off. Yeah. You know, and it was really hard for me to take that. Yeah. You know, and,
you've been lucky, haven't you? Because it happened to you again at Pilgrim. It's Greys. I remember you had a good team at Greys. And
the difficult thing is when you build a side and then it gets broken up through something, not football reasons. You know, like you've built good sides and it's been ripped apart. I've done it twice in my short reign. I've only been a manager for 8 years. You know, like.
In 20 years was at Chelmsford when Kingy bought me.
It gives you pleasure. You know the hard work you put in on the off season, driving in everywhere to get them players in, and then to have it ripped apart for non-football reasons is like.
To get you face to face, because they should appreciate, you know, and not all managers do, but I'll say the vast majority of managers aren't. They work so hard at it, and you have to. And it's a full-time job on part-time money.
Like you're saying there, stay silent. You know, like the statement they made was just a load of waffle. No, you know, like it was like the fans even come back and said I was in the bar till 6 o'clock. So don't make something up what's not happened. You know, like this. Just pull me in and say you don't want me as mate. No problem. I don't get on with you. You don't get on with me. This part company. No problem. We can shake hands and move on. And next time I see you, I might shake your hand. Well, look, but I certainly won't now.
Shake a stroke.
I'm only talking. I know it should be the same with players. You know.
Yeah. 100%.
Go get them. I always have them in the office. And I'd tell them 90% of the time they won't agree with the reasons. But
and you expect that, don't you?
I would say, you know, all the years, probably an handful of players that I don't get on with that work for me. You know, and you talk about hundreds and hundreds of players over the years, and I would say that over 90% of them, I walked in the bar, they put their arms around me, have a drink with me, and most of them, at one stage or another, I've had to let go.
Yeah,
because that's football.
Because that's part of it.
That's part of it, like you said.
I mean, when I was a player, I hated it when a manager would give me what I thought was a load of crap, because I never believed I should ever be dropped, I should ever be taken off. I say I would.
Can't see that in you.
Like, if I got taken, if I was playing well when I got taken off, I'd have to rake up. If I was playing poorly, I'd be worse, because I think I'm turning this round.
That's what you want out of your players, isn't it? You want them to have the other.
They take it straight at me and they tell me, you didn't like it, I never agreed with it, but I respect it.
Yeah.
And I think
That's absolutely. Man.
Well, we always do the team of the week, and of course that's now a massive thank you to Andy Wilkins, who's going to sponsor that for us as well. So the Andy Wilkins Media Isthmian Show Team of the Week. The teams were Burgess Hill Town, Canby Island, Herne Bay and Westfield. And Canby Island won that with 55% of the vote. Would you agree, Canby? No?
We said Burgess Hill for me. Burgess Hill's result was very good. But they've done well, so.
I thought Westfield was as well, to be fair.
And of course, one of the other things I suppose we've got to say as well, just jumping in there, is that a massive thank you to Paul and his company as well for Reposs. They're actually sponsoring the show for the rest of the series. So a massive thank you to Paul and to Reposs as well for coming in and sponsoring the show for us. Also sponsoring, of course, the preview show which we put out on a Friday night as well. So a massive thank you to Paul and everybody involved at Reposs. It's fantastic for you guys coming on board. So Dave, I mean, so one of the things as well, I mean, I know Keith used to be part of your show as well. I mean, what is it like working with Keith and also, of course, working with Caroline as well?
Beauty and the Beast, isn't it? Well, one's a top professional, and the other one's a football manager. Brilliant. I mean, listen, Keith, I'll tell you, it's like any industry. If you work with people who are at the very top of it, they make it easy for you. They make you seem better than you are.
Yeah.
And she's top drawer, and has moved on to bigger and better things like she absolutely should. I've had some great times with her, and still hopefully will in the future. You're talking about good shows earlier on, but we sort of, from going live on a Monday night, we used to then record it on a Saturday night, didn't we? And so I'd literally finish whatever it was at Harper. It's not far, straight down the A40 or in on the tube. And I had to end up going by car, because when I jump on the tube, I'd get there a bit early, and I'd always say to whoever were the guests, I'll meet you in a pub and I'll have a couple of pints. And I always found it good for guests, because it relaxes you, especially most of them are managers who have rushed on their games. But a couple of times, I remember getting in to do it, and Kaz would look at me as if to go, because we'd had like 3 or 4 pints in about a half an hour, one of them. But they were the best shows. They were the best shows, because they flowed, because the lads had a couple of beers, and the BBC never found out about it, so it was fine. But they were the best shows, but they're the ones I used to wake up the next day and go, I might have to listen back to that one. I never listened to them. I think you're mad to listen back to your own voice. But no, she's brilliant, and we still do it on podcast. Tim Fuel sort of presents it. I'm sort of winding down from it a wee bit. I'm sort of doing it maybe once a month now. I've done it for a good. I've had great times, but I just find that now I'm back managing, and I like to play golf. That so I've eased off that, but it's. I always think of it as the original one, and now there's yourselves, and there's the YouTube one, and there's the and I think the more the merrier. So I think it's good fun.
The good thing, I think you'll know what Cole was just saying, Dave, about how it gets easier and it's just rolls off the tongue. When Caroline, it's just it's
unbelievable.
If they done the chase at non-league football, she would be the governess.
Because
she knows everything.
Knows her stuff and all that proper.
Yeah. And obviously he's a Chelmsford fan as well.
Yeah. And knows about it and cares about it,
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those things. I mean, people say to us, the difference to me, and I know they probably do to you. You're doing it for 2 hours. What do you do? What do you do? And don't get me wrong. Some days you look at the computer and the screens in front of you, and you think, dear, mate, it's 25 past. And then the next minute you look at it and you're going, well, thanks for this. 2 hours have been fantastic. It's over. and people have always said, and I've said it so many times before, that people say to me, how do you describe your show? If I'm at work and there's other managers and you go to wherever you might go, and I said, well, it's simple. I said, it's almost like 4, 5, 2, whatever it might be in the studio, people sitting in a pub with a pint talking about football. Yeah. I said, and that's what it's like. I said, we don't come in suited and booted. We don't come in, what you taught you and nothing like that. We just come in, we have a chat like we would do if there wasn't a camera in front of us or not. And it just seems to work.
The good thing about non-league as well is that something always happens every single week. There's always something to talk about. There is always something in either of
And
our
that's football in
games.
general, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Football in general, there's something to talk about isn't there, every
You
week.
put 4 or 5 people in a room who love football and who've been around it, and you can make a show. It's actually harder. We used to do one for half an hour on 5 Live. It's harder than doing a 2-hour one because you end up doing nothing. Whereas you put us. Listen, I could talk to him I've known Craig a long time, and if you went through even our matches against, that would take a fortnight to cover as well. But and it's good. And it's always good. It's the first time I met Gary. That's what's good. I always found that doing it, and Keith is a fool if he hasn't, and I know he's not. Is you pick stuff up. Every day's a school day. Because the one thing as a manager, once you finish playing, you're a manager unless you win to be a number 2, which is what I did a couple of times. You never ever get in anyone else's dressing room. So you can go, what's Gary Alexander? I go, well, he's this and he's that. What's Craig Albert like? But you're never in their dressing room. But when you get them around a table for 2 hours, they'll give you something. Yeah. There'll be something you take away that changes your mood for the next night, And I think, so if he ever asks you for a pay raise, don't give him it. Because he's getting gold here, you know what I mean?
You look at that show. I mean, the show that Keith was talking about, when Craig came in, we were sitting in the other room at the back there, and Craig's, we just sort of got about halfway through the show, and in fact, he was in the ballroom. And we just got about halfway through the show, and Craig started talking about his career. And I was just watching the Facebook figures and the YouTube figures and all the rest of the figures. I was just looking at them, and all of a sudden, Craig started talking. He started talking about his career, and it just kept going up and up and up and up and up. And by the time we got to the end of the show, we got to the end, and he was only halfway through his career. So straight away we said to him, look, after the show's finished, well, how about
See you next
coming
week.
back in?
See you next week.
He came back in 2 or 3 weeks later and did that. And
It's like a mini-series, isn't it?
it was. But then even to the show when we was at Harlow, I think it was one of the ones where we were doing, I think 1 week, just after the situation with Craig and had happened at Billericay, and Glenn came in, and Glenn came in, and Billy Bricknell was in, Justin Gardner came in, and there was Paul Konchesky came in as well. And they were in there, and there was a little conversation going on beforehand about how much we can pay this player and how much we can pay that player, etc., in the corner. And we're sitting there just setting up, and I'm thinking, and people, we just, did the programme, and we got a fair whack of people watching it that night, I'll be honest. Yeah. Knowing full well that the next week, this young man was coming in the next week. And everybody was expecting Craig to come in and go, and tell Waltz and all exactly what happened, And that was the first time that I think I'd met sort of Craig face to face at the time, and you knew, what I know now is he was never going to do that. No. He was never going to come in and do that, but he came in,
dignity,
spoke with such dignity, he spoke with brilliance, that night, didn't he, around the table. And again, I think every time Craig comes on, the viewing figures go through the roof, so you try and get him on as well. But it's just nights like that where people say, people say, I thought Craig was going to say so. Now, he didn't say nothing.
You might on your 300 show.
Yeah, 300. I always
one of them. You know what, man, their style. It was just, you're talking about, how it started, the first job, and I don't know what, just, you got great stories, like from football, everyone's got, I mean, when I go out with a couple of my pals, like, particularly like Lyndon Lynch, who I was with these years, he's a fantastic assistant, and we just, before we actually worked together, we couldn't stand each other, and it was, and our first met him was when I got a Grace job, and he came in as a caretaker, doing it. And he said, you want me being there? I said, yeah, he put a good session on that. And our game got called off because I was at Barnet, and we hit it off from that first day. And we've never had a crossword in 15, 16. And when we go out, and Missy's, they said, they saw some with you two, because everything he says, I'll be like laughing my head off, and vice versa.
Yeah.
We just, and it's all stories about the old days, and it's so easy, you know. And once you get rolling with it,
it's flying, It's like it's one. You say something, tricks up.
Yeah.
But I always found, I was out yesterday in town with some of the old Wimbledon lads, like just for about 20 pints of Guinness, and it was just that I sort of said, look, I'm going to go for a few hours and I'll get home. But once it starts, it's just and they are the best days. John was there, me and Ian.
Reevesley in it?
No, I'll tell you who was there was Jason Goodliff, who's now this evening. No, this is the AFC lads.
Oh right, okay.
This is not the sort of old boys, but
Bass.
Yes, Simon. Yeah, Bass was there all day. Yeah,
Bass.
and big mates of mine, Bass. But and you know what he's like. He's talk about storytellers. You could do a show with just him. You know,
he's funny. Bass.
He's articulate. He's funny.
Yeah.
He comes out with sayings you never forget. I remember he went to watch a winger for me, and I went, "What do you think?" He went, "Wow, he's got happy feet." And you go, it's just him. He's just stuff like that, But
I find with all when I've done the ex-players, and there's still a couple of teams we have reunions, and they're great. But I find when I meet them, they don't talk so much about the actual football, the game.
No, exactly.
It's all the banter and all
the coach of the night out, absolutely.
Things that have happened, and and they're the, I think when I stopped, that was what I really missed. And what I like to stay.
Me too.
Because it's the dressing room, It's just that banter. It's a special kind of humour.
That wins your football matches, though, doesn't it? The dressing room wins your games. If you've got a group that want to go out together and stick together. Played in teams where pre-season you're not meant to go out, but 10 of you go out. He's not going to sack 10 of you, is he? But you're all out together, and all of a sudden season starts and you're on a flow and you're flying up there. It's team spirit's massive.
Millwall legend. And when I first came, I stopped boxing, I came back to football. And Harry Cripps, who's probably one of the worst managers I've ever played. Lovely fellow. He was the Iron Man of Millwall, played 500, 600 games for him. And I remember one game was in the bar. We always used to have a really good drink after the bar, me and Harry, I was his captain, and he said, games are won and lost in here. And it's funny, like I say, he wasn't a great manager, but he said so many things that stuck with me from my career. I think he was just one of these ex-pros that came in at a level that was basically too low for him.
Yeah.
And he wasn't going to go in, and if they were poor, because we'd be 3-0 down at half time, I think, really. But I think he said, "I know the lads." When it's don't worry, be happy.
Yeah.
Without him, because it was just so, and I just think he felt that if to go in there, it would look belittling for the players to have a go at them, But and I think that's why he wasn't a good manager. But like I say, he taught me so many things that stuck with me all my career.
Yeah, and I think the formula, Gary said about that dressing room stuff and the togetherness, that's a formula that goes from, when I'm managing the combined counties, which is the lowest level of managing, but believe me, the dressing room's right, it's good, they're out together, they were out Saturday night together, I don't go with them anymore, but you take that and you take it all the way up to...
You just want the stories on Monday morning.
Yeah, exactly, and then they're all in it then.
No, that's it, but you get it nowadays, you have a Christmas party and only 6 or 7 have turned up, and you're like, what's going on here? Hang on.
Absolutely.
And there's all these excuses where you're like, hey, we've heard these excuses, come on, give us the truth, do you know what I mean? You're right. If you get 16, 17 of you and you're out and you go out once a month or whatever, that guarantees you wins.
Did you watch the Guardiola thing?
No, I haven't seen it yet, no.
It's fantastic. And, you see their dressing room. They've got a great dressing room. The lads are all, they're all together lads.
I don't care who you are, you have to have that if you're going to be at that
level.
Yeah,
if you're going to look after your pal out there, you've got to know you can trust him, go out together.
A lot of my players, when we was at Thames League, when we done so well, was because we had that togetherness. But I remember, and they would remember this story, we had Margate in the FA Cup away, and Margate in the League of Brothers and paying a lot of money and whatever. And on the Thursday, we trained Tuesday, and on the Thursday, Margate were all in doing set plays. We went out for a curry, right? didn't train, went out for a curry. And what we done is we knew one of their players, so we put our formation in bottles of mud on the table, took a picture and sent it to them. We've all sitting there. We drew the game, right? And we were just, and that's the togetherness we had. We used to do that here or there. We used to go bowling or
without getting through a certain amount of games a season, 100%. When you've got to dig in, you're not playing well. You look at your mate and go, "Come on, we can do this." You know, like, we're out tonight. Do you know what I mean?
But you know what that is? That's another thing. It's another thing that you don't.
I think that's disappearing.
Leaders on the pitch. Listen, we can only sit in the dugout. Once you go for that white line, you need people to manage the game on the pitch.
100%.
And they're disappearing, you know.
Yeah.
And to be fair, the side I've got now.
Well, I think you hate them because you have a cop at them.
Well, exactly. Yeah. Or they're like, you know what?
They're looking at you, want to have a fight with you because you've said something.
I get out of it. I'll tell you why I get out of it. And I'm not going to name names. I'm in the dressing room at half time. The centre halves used to be proper geezers, you know, like men. And I went flying through the door. He'd tried a Cruyff and get done and we 1-0 down and we were struggling at the time. And I lit on him and he got it all guns blazing. And his lip quivered. Right? And I actually backed off because I wouldn't want to reduce a grown man. But I thought, and I actually went out of the dressing room into my office and I said to my assistant, "That's me. Yeah. I'm done with this because I can't, you know, but fortunately, since I've gone back in, what I found out was I'm much better when the team's at the top of the league. I'm quite a good guy to be around. Sort of at the bottom. If you want someone to keep you up, I'm not the guy, you know. But it's changed with the character. I was talking about the characters massively. Whereas
he's not Skipper using. You know,
yeah.
And I said, if I had 4 or 5 like him, we'd all believe.
Yeah.
You know?
But then you go back. Sorry, Craig.
Properly. He does half our job. You know, for us. You know, I mean, sometimes when I go in my office, which is right next to the dressing room, and I'll leave it for a few minutes, and I'll have he'll be at them, and they might then have a little bit of a rear up with each other. I think that's all right, you know, lovely, so they get. But he's the leader. He's at them, and then I'll go in there and.
They can manage it for you. Lads can, you know, if you get the right people.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's an easy job management, but if you get the right people doing the right, who are proper, they self-manage, and that's what we're all after. And we're after having the easiest day on a Saturday that we can have. But just to go back to the difference being, if I'd have gone in my Hendon dressing room like 20 years ago and did the same day centre half, he'd have had me by the throat. There'd have been. I wouldn't say a fight, but he wouldn't have stood for it. He'd been up going, "Who do you think you're talking to?"
No, but even like when you're losing a game these days, you go in the dressing room, you're looking for that response, and they're all sitting there in silence. You think like back in like when we used to play, you'd have gone in there and there would have been a fight. It never gets into a fight because obviously your mates come up and split you up, but you go for each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Someone's not pulling their weight, but you go in there and they're just all sat there around the thing, all sitting there like that.
It's like seance.
You're 3-0 down, and none of you are going to say anything. You know,
I'm looking for the glass in the middle. You know the old Ouija board. It's just like silent. You know, not this one. The dressing room in that's happy.
I always knew when it weren't right. When I had to drag out to players or teams, you know, drag performances. I felt I had to drag out them. And when I go, like I say, when you go in there and they're at each other and they've got a bit of an edge to them. I think that's it makes you like harder at times.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones you leave them at.
Yeah.
They want I don't mind that.
Yeah.
And I always say to them, I'll do angry with any of you. You come in here, why not, blah, blah, blah. But I won't do sulking. I will not do that.
No, moping,
Moping,
Well, listen, guys, as I said earlier on, 2 hours has absolutely flown by. But before we go, Haringey winning 2-1 and going second at this present in time in the Prem.
Unbelievable job.
Chinadu scored.
Let's have a look. I'm not too sure who scored actually. So Charlie Baker and Joe Newbell has scored. Luke Callender has scored for Bishop Stortford. So there's about 27 minutes to go. But 2-1 to Haringey. But it's been a great show, fantastic 200th show for me. I think it's been a great listening to such great chat and listening to experience around the table. I've really enjoyed it. So massive thank you, Craig, Dave, and to Gary, and of course to Keith as normal. Me and Keith will be back next week, and we've got Mickey Collins with us joining us next week on the show, and then of course he's down at Seven Oaks, of course, and we'll have a chat with him. next week. But until then, thank you for watching. Hopefully you get all the results on that you want at the weekend. But until then, good night.